And we're here. Yeah, people are coming in. That's great. Now I see it. We're 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. My name, as far as I remember, is Ari Rosenbaum. You never know with quarantine whether you do remember or not. And welcome to that 401k virtual conference 2. Jokingly I call Electric Boogaloo in deference to the Breakin' 2 movie, which apparently 5 of you have seen. First things first, again, welcome and thank you for attending. Again, I see everybody's coming in all en masse. Thankfully, it's a virtual event and nobody could have trouble getting through the door. The next one we're going to do, I already opened up the registration page. We're going to do one on Friday, June the 5th, which would have been the date that I would have been in Minnesota for the actual physical conference. And the fact is that with no major league games until maybe July 1, we're going to have to reschedule that event as well. You'll obviously get an email from me within every 2 days with more information about that event and the one that hopefully we will have in Las Vegas in December. So without further ado, since I run a tight ship over here, I wanted to do introduction for my first presenter, Doug Goodstein. Doug Goodstein's a really good friend of mine. I think for the 10 people who bought my first book, I did make mention of how Doug and his wife rescued me after the hurricane. So Doug Goodstein literally lives like 5 minutes away. And of course my house had 11 feet of water and Doug had nothing. And that's what happens when you're like 3 miles away. But Doug is, very well-known television producer for 20 some odd years. More importantly, he lived across the street from Mark Messier for the 1994 Stanley Cup. So that's always a thing in my mind. So without further ado, Doug Goodstein. Doug, how are you?
You hear me okay?
Yeah, let me share. Okay. Let me get your presentation up and running.
Okay.
First things first.
Sure.
Let me see. I got to share the screen. Let me open this up. You have a tax LM degree, law degree, and just still trying to use this. This is like a whole still to do. Now I got to find it. And here we go. Wow.
Okay. Good.
And then you tell me next when you got to go next.
Okay. Well, good morning, everyone. This is a unique way to do this and a sign of the times for sure, which is sort of the focus of my presentation. I know you're on limited time. I appreciate you having me speak, Ari. I'll do this short and quickly, and hopefully it resonates with a lot of people because I think what I'm offering now is certainly going to be needed and required for the vast majority of any and every business. So my name is Doug Goodstein. I'm a television producer, as Ari said. I have a company called Zimagery Productions that is currently on a pivot. And what that means is that I'll get into it a little bit. But I saw a need for what I'm doing now, which is short form commercials, video advertising. And I'm actually going to convert my business from an LLC to an S Corp and change the name. I've had this for 20 years, but I see a new need and I'm going to restructure my business completely and focus on these short form videos. I'm an executive producer by trade. I'm a content creator. I'm a show developer. I have had shows. I was Howard Stern's executive producer for almost 20 years. I recently produced a political commentary show that was on a major cable network. Right now I'm independent. And it's not a great time to be independent in this business, in a business that is really full of uncertainty now in television. But I am still creating shows, creating formats, trying to make co-production deals, and I've been successful with it. But I've also saw a niche and a void for small businesses who may think that creating an ad or creating a commercial is an expensive, scary prospect, and it's not. It's actually very simple. And what I've come up with is a very creative, simplified way to make commercials and with video. And as you can go to the next screen, I've created almost 10,000 pieces of content in my career. So I've been doing this a long time and I know how to turn around content that's engaging, entertaining, and in top-notch, top quality. So I'm not going to go through all these, but you could see the stats here. They really speak for themselves. Video is key. people engage with video. Video is compelling. Video is easy to consume. Video is engaging. And video is better than reading. It's spoon-fed. People like to be spoon-fed. And there's no better way than a short video to get your message across. And these are incredible stats that just show how heavily consumed video is these days, and the prospects of getting your video shown on Google, if you have video, is tremendous. 98% of internet users and mobile users watch a video to learn more about a product or service, which is what most of you here, I understand, are offering. So you can go to the next one, Ari. Yeah, the messaging is simple. It's here's these on the right side is 8 that I've just recently done. Simple. None of these are more than 30 seconds at the most. They go from 20 to 30 seconds. And an ad could be anything. It could be 10 seconds. It could be 5 minutes. It could be you sitting on screen explaining things. I would discourage that because you do want people to want more, not give them more and have them walk away because they might become disinterested. So the messaging and branding in these things is really, really simple and really just should be basic. We are open. Wow, I didn't know Bigelow's was open. Now I do. There was obviously more to these. These are just frame grabs from these commercials. Experience matters. Just boom, hit people over the head. Wow, experience matters. It's something to digest. Ari, a call to action. Call us today for a retirement planning evaluation. Riverside Payments, how can I help you? Get a free quote. And it goes on and on. You know, services they offer for pickup and curbside, and thanking their loyal customers. And here it is. It's a simplified video marketing plan. Producing a video should not and will not be an overwhelming process. You create a video via ad via a simple process, which I will help you with. It's an elevator pitch. Just hit people over the head in the 30 seconds you might have their attention. So a simple suggestion, suggested template and formula is sent to you by me. We'll finalize the messaging together in a very simple process, and the edit starts, which is what I'll do. We approve it together. You have a round or two of changes, which is fine. And then you post the ad. It could be made for Instagram, could be made for YouTube, could be made for Facebook. They all have a little bit different ways that you need to post them and make the specs, but that's not a difficult process. And boom, you're engaging awareness and you're getting new business, hopefully. Okay, next one, and then I will show you some samples. Sorry, you can you
What?
can swap.
Video?
So yeah, you could do the video. So here's about 2 minutes worth of there's 5 spots here coming, and they're all real short and to the point. And this is what I could do for you.
Let's, like I said. Okay, Safari. You see that?
Yep.
Okay, so we're playing all?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's it.
Where can people reach out to you and all that stuff?
Okay. So right now I said I'm in a pivot. So a little bit ironic that I don't have a website and I don't have a video and I don't have a business email right now. I'm in the process of changing everything. So the next slide, if you want to share again, this is what I'm going to offer right now. And again, the big thing is really that people just don't know. The forward-facing businesses where you have to face a client, you just don't know how it's going to happen these days. It's a complete paradigm shift right now that no one knows how this is going to evolve. So if someone was going to come in and meet you face to face, they might not want to do that anymore. So they might not, they might just want to do the research on their own. They might know about you, but they might not want to meet you. So if there's a way to search it and it comes up in a Facebook group or wherever, even on YouTube, probably in Facebook would be a great place to, where you have a business page. If they did a search for you, then your page comes up and they have this professional looking ad, and it's basically your first introduction, your first impression. And with a professional video like this, offering your services and explaining who you are and what you do, it's really it's the new handshake essentially. So it is really an important thing. And with the stats and the research and all the data about how important video marketing is, I think this is crucial. So you have the last page, Ari, of how to reach me.
Okay.
Through an email, and then the offer that is on the table.
Let me get hold on.
And then I'm done, right?
let me get this up, because like
Okay.
I said, it's with this window, it's pain in the rear end.
Okay.
Share, here we go. Play from current slide. Okay, that's the intro, right? That's the intro.
Yep, that's it. That's where
special
that's
offer.
where you are. That's the special offer. So that's it. Your code you won't need. If you mention Ari, you're good. So this is
Well, in some other places, if you mention Ari, it's going to cost you more. You know, like synagogue membership. If you go to a particular synagogue, I think it's double. You use my name.
Yeah. So again, a pretty low cost way to do this. Some production companies, some marketing firms, some agencies will charge you $2,500 just to become a client and be retained, for them to maybe make a print ad and then put you to a third party to make a video, which could cost thousands. So this is a low cost, very efficient way. This is for, anywhere up to 30 seconds.
Someone asked, is the commercial for social media only or TV also? I mean, you've done.
Oh, they can go anywhere. I just would need the specs for where you need it on TV with the cable company, and yeah, we could deliver however you need it. And these could run anywhere. I'm just saying I'm sort of branding them as social media just because it is no cost to put them up there. That's a free way for you to distribute and for you to broadcast essentially. But yeah, these could be made for television.
Can you embed the email in can you embed the video in an email?
Yes, I can give you an embed code for sure.
Cousin Scott wants to make a few of them. Your cousin is a financial advisor who's been a good friend of mine, and I didn't know he was your cousin until I knew you. But Scott, you already got a client now.
Well, you have to add a zero for my cousin, so 2,500 for Scott.
Okay, and somebody else loved the drums in the background, so.
Oh yeah, double set. There's one over here and one over here.
For everybody who wants to know, I lived in that basement minus the drums for 2 weeks after the hurricane. So,
right where the drum set is.
No, I think right behind you. There was like a comfortable one of those Insta beds or whatever.
Yeah. Excellent. So, any other questions? If not, I'll let you go on, and maybe I'll stick around for a few minutes. I'm curious to see what you do here.
Okay, not a problem. So thank you,
Doug.
Yeah,
thank you. I appreciate it very much.
Not a problem.
Okay.
Least I could do.
Have a good one. Thank you, everyone.
Okay. Now, Like I said, this is news to me how to do these things still. My next presentation, the next presentation is my presentation. How about that? Going to talk about the coronavirus provisions with the CARES Act, and obviously some of the things that you need to know with what's going on. And let me try this slideshow, play from the start. There we go. So coronavirus provisions, concerns, CARES Act, all that good stuff for 401k plan sponsors and plan providers. And here we go. What plan sponsors should do, obviously, is they shouldn't be panicking. We didn't start the fire. We've had, world wars. We've had depressions, recessions. This isn't something new. I mean, obviously, it's something new in the sense that we have to wear a mask everywhere and whatnot, and 30 million people have lost their jobs. But you got to keep everything in perspective. Plan sponsors really need to think long term. What can they afford in terms of employees and contributions? They need to talk to their financial advisor. Obviously, they should not give financial advice on their own. And of course, we have plan sponsors that do that, as well as talk to their TPA, because any issues of plan design, they got to deal with them. Of course, you have to realize, of course, plan sponsors still have to fulfill their role as a plan fiduciary, no matter what. Employee notices, they have to deposit salary deferrals as soon as possible. What they should do with employees versus money concerns, obviously, you can only do what you can afford. Furlough versus termination. Furlough doesn't get access to the non-hardship distribution because no severance from employment, meaning if you're furloughed, you can't have a full, it's not considered a distributable event where you would get your entire account balance for a participant. That's an issue. And obviously what you're doing, the employees will have an issue dealing with partial terms, which we'll talk about. Severance pay as compensation. That's a concern if it's considered regular compensation for services that would have been paid to the employee before severance from employment and paid within 2.5 months after severance from employment. It could be included as compensation for plan purposes, which means that plan sponsors would actually have to allow participants to defer if there was a deferral election in place, as well as the calculation of any employer contributions. And I've seen so many plan sponsors get this wrong and find out that they actually have to owe contributions afterwards. Terminating the plan, you'll see a lot of plan sponsors. Right now, I have to write an advisory opinion for a plan sponsor that wants to terminate participation from a multiple employer plan and terminate the plan altogether. The problem was, I told the client, you have something called the successor plan rule, meaning that if you have a 401k plan and you terminate, you can't have another 401k plan for 12 months unless you meet certain other requirements that nobody actually really meets. Obviously, plan sponsors dealing with employer contributions, dealing with a safe harbor match, a notice and amendment is needed. If you have a safe harbor profit sharing, you have to look to what the notice said. Maybe there was opting out that a plan sponsor could revise it and send out a new notice and amend the plan and eliminate it. If you have a stated match, plan sponsors got to put an amendment and a summary material modification in place. For any pension plans, that means defined benefit plans, cash balance, money purchase, and the 5 or fewer people who still have target benefit plans. The problem is that if they want to cease contributions for 2020, they got to amend the plan, got to do before June the 1st to avoid any 2020 contributions. And now the problem is if you have 100 more participants, you have a 45-day notice on 2 or 4H, and therefore you would be out of time right now. So that's obviously a caveat. Plan provider concerns, obviously speaking to a lot of plan providers. The turd in the punch bowl, that's a joke from my Disney national events when the Retireaholics, JD was saying, oh, well, you're a pessimist. And I said, no, I'm really the turd in the punch bowl. I'm just the guy who kind of tells unpleasant things to people that are kind of truthful. And being the turd in the punch bowl, providers will go out of business. Not all of them, not a few of them, but some. And of course, like I said, keep things in perspective. You got to take care of your most important asset. That's employees. I always talk about Ralph, my mechanic. Ralph lives Ralph works right near Doug, past my house. He's 17 feet above sea level, so that's why he didn't get any flood, and that's why Doug didn't get any flood after the hurricane. Ralph, his business suffered. People lost. People got new cars. He was negatively affecting his business, and then Ralph decided to get into his wallet and keep his staff because he didn't. He felt that he couldn't find good staff, good mechanics like that anymore. So that's why he decided to support his business. And now Ralph is doing better than ever. I actually was on the phone with Ralph this week, and he's doing about 85% of his business right now. So he's doing good. And of course, good experienced retirement plan professionals are hard to come by. 9 years as a TPA attorney, I can tell you about the administrators that I knew that just weren't very well trained. Markets will be choppy. We don't know how long. Could be the end of the year. Could be who the heck knows. Shelter in place. You can't be a hermit if you're a plan provider. You have to work from home. You have to be out there for your clients. And, every challenge is an opportunity. Many plan providers are ignoring their clients. So that's a great way for you to get out there in the open and be there when their current plan provider isn't out there. And I think that's extremely important. Of course, everybody knows I'm here. Give me a call. You get an email from me every other day, or it feels like that way. And to deal with coronavirus, the CARES Act was put into place. Distributions from early distribution penalty. Everybody knows that in a 401k plan. Sorry about that. That's what happens. When dealing with a 401k plan, pre-59.5 in-service distributions, there's that early distribution penalty under 72T. The CARES Act allows plan sponsors to allow for premature early distributions from the plan up to $100,000 that won't be subject to the 10% early distribution penalty for any distributions made after January 1 and before 12/31 to an affected individual, to affected participant, who could be an individual who's diagnosed with COVID-19 or the other variation of SARS, an individual whose spouse or dependent is diagnosed with COVID, as well as any individual who's had really a negative job experience as it pertains to coronavirus, which can include childcare. You have to work because of childcare, or you got furloughed, laid off, quarantine, hours cut, whatever it may be. You can get that. And again, that's if plan sponsors decide whether they want it in or not. And usually with a hardship, the hardship provisions require backup. So when somebody says, they're getting evicted, they have to send you a little eviction notice and backup from the landlord saying that if they don't get payment, they're going to evict the certain participant. Under this provision, the participant just certifies that they fall under the exception to the early distribution penalty, and the plan administrator can take that on its face. However, if the plan administrator does know that they're not affected, recent Q&A provisions from the code, Q&A provision from the IRS would say that it's invalid, that if the plan administrator knew that the plan participant wasn't affected, then the premature, the relief from the early distribution penalty wouldn't apply. Now, how are they going to find that out? I assume an audit, maybe, of the plan, audit of the participant. Who knows? The tax on the distribution can be spread pro rata over 3 years. The individual actually has an opportunity to pay the coronavirus distribution to a plan over the next 3-year period, which begins on the date following the distribution. And the recent Q&A says that they can pay it back. And then, of course, the participant would actually have to go and re-amend their tax returns. And it's a big headache. And quite honestly, I don't know many participants who are actually going to do that, but they can. Also, plan loans, they allow participants access to qualifying individuals. Again, those who have had coronavirus, have a spouse or dependent that had it, or have negative job aspect of it. The plan limits, loan limits go from $50,000 or 50% to $100,000 or 100% of their individual vested account balance, which is of course double the limit. And any affected individuals who have a outstanding loan balance can delay loan repayments for up to a year. That would simply mean that interest would accrue for the year of deferment of payments, and the loan would be extended out for a year. again, this is another provision. Plan sponsor can choose or not whether they want to offer it or not. RMDs that should have been made in 2020, they could be deferred. If they took out 2020 RMDs before the CARES Act, they could roll it back in. For some reason or another, the RMDs for defined benefit plans were excluded from the CARES Act. I don't know why, but hopefully the IRS may fix that. We'll see with further guidance. Last two changes under the CARES Act, relief for pension plans and plan amendments. If an employer had a minimum contribution owed for 2019, normally their due date would be their tax return for 2019, including any extensions, which could go as far out as September 15th for a corporation return. Under the CARES Act, that payment isn't required into January 1, 2021. So there's a delay that they can choose to opt in and delay it for 3 to 9 months or whatever it is. Unfortunately, that is dealing with 2019 contributions and not 2020. So like I said, if you have a plan sponsor with a money purchase plan or defined benefit plan, time is ticking as to whether you can avoid that 2020 contribution. For plans that are opting in for the CARES Act, they don't have to be amended until the last day of the first year, commencing on or after January 1, 2022. Of course, like I said, everybody gets an email from me, but there's my contact information in case, you have any burning questions, if you have any Mets questions, when the season's going to start, with my son here with me, that's the question every day, when Major League Baseball season is going to start. So there's my contact information, and let me go and see what the questions are. Let me see, open. I don't see. If you have any questions, the Q&A is open. Actually, I don't. Okay, what is my opinion if a 401k plan sponsor decides to not adopt it on the CARES Act? Would that expose them to fiduciary liability? No, it doesn't. That's a decision that they want to make. Quite honestly, my opinion, allow it. But I work with a MEP, and one of the adopting employers did not want to offer it. So I still get a lot of more Doug Goodstein drum questions. There's, of course, a reference to the movie Step Brothers, which is hilarious. So again, it's not necessary for them to opt in, and there's no trouble if they get it opt in. I'm hearing that participants can say their distribution or loan is COVID related, even if the plan sponsor hasn't adopted the provisions. Is this correct? If they do that, the problem is that the plan sponsor will have to put that amendment in place in 2022. If not, that could be a problem for the plan sponsor later down the line. And that's why a lot of the TPAs are asking, plan sponsors right now, whether they want to have it in or not. When do I think MLB will start? That's a great question. I think it's going to start July the 1st. Quite honestly, it should have started earlier, but Major League Baseball, in its infinite wisdom, decided to sit around and do nothing while they could have opened up in Arizona. And, hopefully, like I said, we had events scheduled for April, May, and now June. Hopefully we can reschedule it for August and September. PPP questions. Can I talk about the PPP? I'll talk as much as I know. Yes, PPP does include payment for any retirement benefit. Would they be able to include their safe harbor, the 2019? I don't think so. I think they can only do it going ahead with the payroll that's affected. And the problem is, I had an advisor ask me the question today and yesterday. For the 2020 safe harbor, they are putting it in as part of the PPP, even though the 2019 hasn't been paid off. I think that is the correct way to do it. You can't go back and use PPP money for contributions, in my opinion, that accrued in 2019. The problem with the PPP, I find with it, is with any type of government program. Again, you see here, this office, there was about 5 feet of water here. We had a bunch of programs with FEMA as well as New York State, and there were headaches dealing with money that was distributed to us. And that's the problem with the PPP. They distributed the money, and then all of a sudden they decided to change the rules. All of a sudden it was discovered that there was a loophole that publicly traded companies could get it, and that wasn't the intent. So I would be cautious and say you can use it for 2020. If you use it for 2019 and the plan sponsor did get audited, don't be surprised if there is a problem that could happen. So I'm going to ask the copy for the presentations. Yes, please email me later. You can get a copy of all the presentations. I only know of one where I have to wait on it because the compliance has to approve it, but all the other ones that should have it. Yes, can loans be delayed for current loans? Yes, for current loans, the situation is, again, if the plan sponsor opts in, if it's a COVID-related situation where the participant is within that, box, whether they had the coronavirus, spouse or dependent, or they had negative job action, they can delay that loan repayment for a year. So even if they just took out the loan in January and it pushes it past the 5-year repayment term, it can be done. Of course, they would have to pay for interest for that year that they deferred the payment. Okay, Ari, where do you believe participant education falls in priority for plan sponsors right now with market volatility? A lot. I think a lot. And I think that that's something that a lot of plan sponsors are ignoring right now. They were ignoring it when everything was fine. They're further ignoring it when people are apart. So I think that it's extremely important that plan participants right now get some type of education. Zoom, this is fairly easy to allow for plan sponsors to deal with plan participants that may have questions. As we see with any type of down market, people do stupid things. I always talk about when I worked for a law firm, we had somebody in the office who said, I put 100% of my money in the mid-cap fund because that's the middle of the market. So you have to deal with participants like that. Can you opt in only for certain provisions, such as payback only, but no additional loan amounts? Yes. You can pick and choose what you want to do with PPP. I'm sorry, with the CARES Act. You can, if the loan limit is 100,000, you can, in the plan document, limit it to 75 if you wanted to. It can be done. Any thoughts on the proposed idea to increase or double the 401k deferrals? With proposed legislation, I never really opine. You never know. I think the government would not want to do that right now because right now they're in need of tax revenue to pay for PPP and the CARES Act. So I doubt it. 2 questions. What is your opinion of adopting the CARES Act provisions but not advising or promoting them to employees? And what do you think of these ads promoting these distributions types as a way to invest in diversified? I think that if you adopt it, you got to let employees know. You don't have a plan amendment in place, you don't have an SMM, but in order for them to know what's going on, I think you have to advise them. And what do I think of ads promoting these distribution types as a way to invest and diversify? Well, everybody takes advantage of the situation when there's money coming out there. Client doesn't want to add the corona distributions for current employees, but has a former participant who's qualified and submitted a COVID form to not pay taxes now. Can they process? Yeah, you theoretically could do that. The problem with it is drafting a plan amendment that will allow it to incorporate that as well as any type of discrimination requirements, because it's a benefit right or feature that you're only allowing former participants. My opinion is allow it for everyone and avoid a headache. What are my thoughts on the annuity safe harbor for the Secure Act? Do you think annuities will become a more popular distribution option? Ultimately, I don't think so. And the reason I don't think so is, most of the business these days is related to retirement advisors that don't have an insurance license. So I don't think that there's going to be an overall dying need to add these annuities. So I don't know how popular they're going to become. Quite honestly, I don't think they're going to become popular at all. It'll be there for obviously some of the providers, and we'll see what happens. So that's it with my questions. And that's that. And Lyle from Granite Group is going to be next. So let me get his thing up and running. And why do I have you gave me the plan sponsor forum one, Lyle, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
This is the one for the plan sponsor forum that I have.
Is it the one I sent you this morning or?
Yep.
Why don't you just go with the one I sent you last night?
Yeah, I got to find it. Hold on.
That's right. Just, you know what, Ari, that's fine. We can do this. That's fine.
Okay, hold on. Let me get this. And we see it right now. Everybody sees it. Okay.
I don't see it, Ari.
You don't see it?
No.
Sorry about that. Technical difficulties. Okay. Let me share. Actually, let me not share screen. Let me pull that up again. This is what I got from today.
That's fine. That's fine. But I can just talk to it.
Okay.
Okay. Go ahead, Ari. Just click the. So I'm just going to talk to you. I'm going to give you guys some ideas, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're all doing well, keeping safe. We're going to come out of this, and I think with the stimulus that's happening, it's going to be a hockey stick a few months from now. But in the meantime, I want to give you guys some ideas on what to do, where I think the future of the business is going to be. Give you some a couple ideas and give you a call to action to do. So. Let's get right into it. Go right to the next slide, Ari. I think one of the things I think about is, the plant. The employers are just going to be so focused on their business that they're just going to spend less times, less time on their retirement plans. And the DOL is going to is giving us all the tools necessary out there to make any changes and do whatever you want that Ari just spoke to. And I believe that the plan sponsors out there are going to really start outsourcing a lot more of the services, like investment fiduciary services, 316 services. They're going to want a one-stop shop, especially really on the smaller plan market. I think the firms that don't have investment committees or HR personnel are really going to be hungry to make sure that they're compliant, so they can focus on the other side when we come out of this. So go ahead, Ari, next one. And so I think one of the things, and go ahead, Ari, hit the next one. So I think one of the major components going forward from the Secure Act is, the MEPs and PEPs. And I really think that a lot of the small businesses out there, really with employees really under 100, are really going to be focused on doing this. So I'm just going to give you a really super high level view of this. And for those of you who don't know what a multiple employer plan is, it's basically a bunch of 401ks inside one big 401k. And there's two different types of MEPs. There's a closed MEP and an open MEP. The closed MEP is just related, companies. So if you have the Dental Association or the Gardeners Association, or Chamber of Commerce, those are all closed MEPs. So if you know any president of chambers, board members of chambers, that's an opportunity, and I'd be happy to help you work on that. And then there's open MEPs that are unrelated. So and the issue with open MEPs, then when they're unrelated, they need audits and individual 5500s. So as we go forward, and the Secure Act has made things pretty clear here, that in 2021, we're going to have something called a PEP, which is basically an open map, except that you need 15500 for the entire plan, not for the participating employer. Then eliminate the bad apple rule. And I think that's going to be a real strong, for those people that focus on the smaller plan market with under 100 employees, not really the dollar amount, but just the employee amount. We have plans that have 15 people with 20 million, and there's plans that have 100 people and have 5 million in it. So it's really for, you want to go by the head count. There's something called the bad apple rule, so that was eliminated. I was going to take that out, but it's just a provision under the old MEP rules that if someone didn't upload their payroll or just did something wrong, everyone else would be affected, and that was eliminated with the Secure Act. So I think MEPs and PEPs are good. They're going to offer some real service. They'll be slightly less expensive depending on who it is, but it's going to be a place to go for the small for the small mid to small plan market. Next slide, Ari, please. The employers are just going to want this, right? So and so it's going to be up to the advisor to really get in front of their clients, especially for the advisors that have 2, 3, 4 plans and they're smaller. I really would focus, make sure, and I hate to be blunt, but you really need to be out there with those your clients because they will be looking, and if you're not servicing them and you're not doing, someone else is going to be calling them. So, and I'm going to give you some tools and what to look for in prospecting a little bit later. But that's my take on MEPs and PEPs and where I think a lot of the business is going to be moving in the small plan market. Go ahead, Ari. Next page. So here's some things I think advisors really need to know. I'm going to go, some of this might be sort of rudimentary, but there are still some people that really want some clarification out there. I think one of the best things that advisors need to do is really define your role and what you're going to do. So whether you're a non-fiduciary, which you can be, 321, 338, 316, you need to understand what your role is going to be, and then more importantly, you need to understand what your client or your prospect's needs are, right? So make sure you put those dovetail those two together. And a lot of and the employees everyone wants participant services. They want their employees to be happy, right? So they want to stay. They want to look at the 401k as a hook to keep them in. And so the question is, what are you doing to go out and help them have that good employee experience? And also usually if there's an HR person or the CEO or CFO or even the investment committee, they all want help. So you really need to be super proactive and be a conduit to make sure that their needs are out there. So what I'm trying to tell you is that you got to go beyond your scope. So if you're a 321, what are you doing to make sure that your client or your prospect is going to get all their needs met? So you got to think about what you want to do and be and pick up the phone call. They want you to call. Go ahead, Ari. Next one. And just go ahead and ask questions through this. And Ari, if you want to interrupt me, go ahead. So this is going to be very basic, but 321 is basically a person is an investment fiduciary who goes to the employer and says, hey, I want to change out A fund for B fund. And the employer signs off. The employer just took on the liability because they had to sign off. And the 338, that's what Granite Group is. We take discretion. We go to the employer and say, we're going to change A fund for B fund, and here's your 30-day notice that you need to distribute to your employees. So it's more of a full service type of arrangement with the plan sponsor. Next one, Ari. And one of the other things to look for out there. So when you're prospecting, just going to back up a little. Find out what the service is and find out what they need, right? And then when you get into these questions, I think something like 60% of plans in the country only have an IPS. That means 40% don't. So you have to ask them if they have an IPS. It's very important for them to have an IPS. It's not against the law not to have one, but if they don't have one and they get sued, you can look at a case study from 2008 called the LaRue case. And that really set the stage to make sure that people have firms have an IPS. And then what I noticed in a lot of IPS that advisors send to us is that in that IPS, there's really no investment process laid down. It's really a policies and procedures and how to operate the plan, but there's nowhere there in there that in the IPS where I see the majority of them, there is no investment process. It's very important to have that investment process in the IPS. So ask your prospect or your client if they have an IPS. Let's look at this. Let's shore it up, because as the markets come down and people sharpen their pencils, and there's going to be a few more lawsuits out there, as we've seen already with ADP this week. So and the other thing, if you use target date funds, that's a separate process. There's 50 different types of target date fund families. So you really need to put in the process, how'd you get to that particular fund family, simply because the Fidelity 2050 target date fund is different than the Schwab 2020 or 2050 target date fund, which is different from Vanguard. So how'd you get to pick that target date fund? There's little things there to build trust, to build confidence, and to really show the prospect or the client that you know what you're doing. Next slide, Ari. And one of the biggest things out there is engagement. So in this downtime, and go ahead and Ari, click on this thing and bring up my site. What we did at Grant Group several years ago is that we brought up we noticed that clients or employees of clients weren't really doing what they needed to do. They didn't really understand how to do allocations. They really needed some help on getting an allocation. So we created a site, and that site, it's on GGA Retirement. You log in. And so what's really important is that we create a site for each individual plan. All right. So when an advisor comes to us and says, "Here's a plan," we create the site. We put up their fund lineups and everything in there for them, and we provide. This is what we do. So I want you to imagine that you're going to do an enrollment meeting, right? And we're going to send you a list of instructions to send out to employees what to do before the enrollment meeting. So this is going to save you lots of time and money. Go ahead, take the questionnaire, launch that questionnaire already. So Ari's going to take this questionnaire. He's just going to just randomly, answer those questions. And what this is providing is a certain level of customization down to the employee level. And this is very important. So person takes it, they get a score, they come into the enrollment meeting, and they say, "Oh, I've got this 60-40 blend." Well, that's great. You got 60% stocks and 40% bonds. So if someone's doing their own allocation, that's great. And if they want to buy the model, we'll have a model up in the fund lineup that will represent that 60-40 split. So whoever the record keeper is, because this is password protected by plan, person clicks on that participant login, and they go to the log in, buy the model, and log off. And what was just delivered was a personal allocation solution with really no additional fees at all, at least from Granite Group, right? So there's a mutual fund style guide. Click on that real quick. And so what we do very differently that's unique is that we want people to understand risk. So we rate the funds from least aggressive to most aggressive, including the models, to make sure they understand the risk they're taking. We're trying to give them some investment education. So go back to the site, Ari, to the my site. The other thing here is it says categories, but really, we produce all this investment information. So the big firms out there like Schwab, they have Idealab, they do a great job. All these guys do a great job, Principal and Power, about retirement education. But where they can't really help you too much is on the investment side. Since it's worth 338, so we become the advisor, become the 338 to the plan. We produce a lot of our own investment information. So so when that person gets done taking the quiz and about how much he or she should put away, they don't know where to put it. So if it's $500 a month, they need help. This provides that ability. So some of the things we write on, if you want to hit special announcements, Ari.
Sure.
Yeah, right there, right in the middle. So just hit that, go down to, current thoughts, March 16th. You just hit that. Here's our current thoughts. The markets are falling apart. We're trying to instill confidence. If, hit the language, select a language, so if you have a plan that needs us, languages that we can pretty much put any language in here, the whole site will turn to that language. So this is just for clients only, right? This is just for the advisor's clients. So once you go back to English, since I don't read Chinese, there's click the blog, Ari. And sometimes, so this really, what we're doing is this is a source of engagement. So someone, usually if you go, take your cursor, see if the little follow-up thing goes in the bottom right-hand corner, Ari, see, Ari, on the bottom right-hand corner, your cursor go, let's see if it pops up. But so if you go down, we write things, and so to try to give people reasons and give them advice what to do. We've done a lot of webinars for our clients and our advisors' clients, and what should the client do. Actually, go to December 26th, Ari, while you're there. Sometimes when we feel things stop right there, so right there, it's highlighted. We actually said something like this. We didn't say sell the market. We just said if you look at the highlighted piece here, these are very short 30-second reads, and we said, if you're retiring or in need of funds, we think that sometimes the markets get a little ahead of themselves. And if you're retiring or in need of funds, please make sure your allocation reflects your risk and needs. And it's not about us market timing. It's about if someone's retired. I didn't know COVID was going to hit. I just thought the markets were overvalued. It's a source of engagement. So I read this and said, all of a sudden, the employee calls the advisor, said, hey, what should I do? And maybe that advisor will just get a personal account out of it. So it's just a source of engagement to really help out the advisors out there. So go back to the site already. And so we don't post them, when on a consistent basis. We just post them when we feel it's necessary to say something. We have the quarterly commentaries, same quarterly commentaries that go to our private clients. Special announcements, all the things are up there that you need to be successful. And again, this whole thing is just about getting someone to a point to make a decision how to allocate, and then provide them with advice. Well, not advice, or guidance on the markets in general. So, and this is all, oh, by the way, before you go out there, that where it says GGA retirement education, I can put the advisors, stuff up there. I can put the client's name up there. On the About Us, I can put up the advisor's information up there as well. So it's really, something that would be customized just for the advisor. So go ahead, Ari. Let's go back to the presentation.
Sure.
And let's see. Where do I get the content? I see someone out there. We produce our staff. My staff and I. We just have ideas. We're money managers, right? So we're guys that. We don't sell products. We we manage money. So we see things and we try to do what we do for our private clients right inside the 401k. So that was a great question. Go ahead, Ari. Next one. So here's some things. Here's something we created back in December. We created our own map. We realized from a business perspective that it really didn't. Help us or serve us to really service $1 and $2 million plans. So we wanted to put everything under one umbrella. So we wanted to do this, and then we extended it out to advisors. And what's going to, so I think this is a great one-stop shop where 338, you get the models, you get the fund lineups, you get the education site. We put a 316 on top of it, so the employer doesn't have to sign the 5500. It's completely employee-centric. It's really a nice one-stop shop for the plan that doesn't have a lot of resources out there, or who just wants a lot more protection and coverage. So it's a great avenue. And I think this is where the future is going to be for a lot of people. I think there's going to be a lot of big guys out there. I'm referring to the Fidelity's, Empowers, and everyone's going to come up with a map. There's lots of maps out there. And I believe that they're going to dictate what the fee is going to be, what your fee will be, and then they'll reduce the fees. In our plan, we allow the advisor to be completely independent, and he can choose whatever fee that he wants inside the plan. So for him, so spend a little extra money trying to figure that out, but it really is for the benefit of the advisor. So, because some advisors are going to be very proactive and they need to be compensated for their time, and some advisors are not. So everyone can just choose their own level of compensation. So it's a great thing. Go ahead, Ari. Next page. Here's an example. This was a small plan, 3.5 million, 27 employees. The advisor was a 321. They had financial engines in there, and it was running up to about 90 basis points, and the admin fees were 21. We came down and brought those same services down to 11 and 25, but we included the operational fiduciary, the custom allocation, and all the in the site and all that good stuff right down for the client, so that it really does. And that doesn't include mutual funds. It's just operating stuff. So it was a real, and that leaves a lot of room for the advisor to put some put their fee in there. Next slide, please. So we partner. You know, we don't replace. We partner with all advisors. I can tell you, for those who are interested, I'll tell you a story. You know, if you call, but you know, real brief. I had an advisor call me a couple of years ago. Wasn't doing well, and the client. I got the client to take the advisor on and really helped him out, and I just became the 338. And that advisor now has a few plans with us. So really helped out to being the partner. We want to give the advisor full support. We want to give you enrollment presentations, everything you need to be successful. Questions, call us anytime directly. We're not going to be a Leaf or a Mesero or an Iron. We actually will pick up the phone and speak with you, right? And we're going to give you all the much higher level of service, just like you need to give a much higher level of service to your clients. We want to support the advisor. We're all about the advisor. So next page. And so here's some things I get, just like everyone else, I get emailed incessantly about stuff. So I thought there were some pretty good stats on from a couple of record keepers that emailed me. We're probably on about 10 or 12 different record keepers as it stands now. So before coronavirus, there was 37% of the employers were actively looking to move the plan. I guarantee you that number is well north of 50% now, because basically, I know there's a lot of plan advisors that are not calling their plans. So I strongly suggest everyone on this call do it. 75% of the plans have not analyzed the plans in 3 years. That's an opportunity, right? So give us a call and let us help you out. They got their third quarter or their first quarter statements. They're probably not too happy, and they're really looking for the employees really looking for some support. So what I would do if I was looking to increase my business, I'd be very proactive, not reactive. Do not let that employee or that employer or employee call you the complaint. Be out in front of it. Start calling them. This is the time, because this is the time to do it. There's profit in chaos, and while people are starting to rebuild, this is your opportunity, to bring in new clients, even to plant the seeds so they'll come back to you in 2 or 3 or 4 months. So I remember that conversation with John, right? And if you'd like to, if you'd like some help, for us, just get us the 408B2. That's a fee disclosure. Get us the fund lineup. We'll help you, go through strategy, what you need to do to, win over, win a couple clients, and just, let us be your committed partner. And the last page, if you want to reach out to me, I'm right here. There's my contact. Your best bet will be Mike Rosenthal, and he can definitely answer all your questions. He's extraordinarily knowledgeable on plan design and stuff like that. We work with Ari a lot. He's a great ERISA attorney, and he can also be a 316 as well. But and this is a great system, I think, for the future of this business in the small to mid-sized market. So if you have any questions, let's see here. My volume is fading out. I apologize. So let's see here. Our closed MEPs are essentially the same as a corporate MEP and association MEPs. That might be one for you. But closed MEPs and association MEPs are, I believe, are the same.
They are the same because there's commonality between the adopting employers.
Correct, right. So what additional risk does a plan sponsor take on if administration of the MEP is found to be out of compliance? Well, I would think, all right, this is another one, since you're the lawyer, but I think the entity that supports the MEP would be responsible, right?
Well, yeah, when you have an adopting employer, it's got to get into compliance, but there are provisions that you could probably put in place in the MEP that kind of alleviate the situation. But, my sense of urgency was always in the plain document. If you have an adopting employer that's not playing by the rules, you're going to force them to leave your MEP.
Yep. And plus, ultimately the plan fiduciary is ultimately the fiduciary plan. They did take an action, but when they go into these maps where there's 316s and 338s and all the services, they are discharging that duty, but they have some culpability. It's just not as much. Monette Lawrence, why don't you give me a call? I would use Ari for a 316 service. He can do that. How do you price your services? Do you provide TPA services too? I'm not a TPA. I am a 338 only. We partner with everybody, right? So I'm a strong believer of hiring the best in their space. There's no point in trying to be all things to all people. So I can't be a 316. I'm not going to be a TPA, a record keeper, or even the advisor. When an advisor comes to us and say, here's a client, it's up to the advisor. We work through the advisor. The client and the employees go through the advisor. They don't call us. Now, does that mean we won't talk to them? Sure we will, but only if at the advisor's invitation. So that, I hope I answered that for Scott.
Okay, I got
I think those are the questions.
No, we got some more. Lyle, do you think the inception of PEPs in the marketplace and their growth will be delayed by COVID-19 pandemic? And if so, for how long?
If it's delayed, it's just a functionality. I think, for next year, the PEPs, I think the Secure Act, those are going to still go forward. But I think they're going to actually be sped up, right? So I think people, the smaller plans out there, the $5, $10, $20 million plans out there are going to be looking for service. So I think that will expedite things pretty quickly.
Okay, and if a plan sponsor wants to peel out of a MEP but wants to set up a simple plan instead of a 401k plan, can they withdraw or transfer accounts from the MEP?
Of course. Yep.
Yeah, nah, it's not so simple. The problem with it is it's a nightmare and should not be done. And the reason why it shouldn't be done is a simple plan and a MEP 401k are two different animals. A simple is an IRA product. I don't think it can be done. More importantly, the rules of a simple plan means that the simple plan has to be exclusive plan for the plan sponsor for the year. So you run into that problem. But more importantly, it's a qualified plan and an IRA product. You can't mix and match. You can do rollovers. You can terminate the 401k plan and then and terminate the MEP and then allow participants to roll into a simple. But it's not, it's not apples to apples. It would be apples to oranges, as I would say.
Yeah, so we actually, to get around that, and I agree with you. I didn't understand that. I missed the word simple plan. I thought it was just focused on the word plan. We also have CITs. So if someone wanted to use our services and use some of this, we have a version of a CIT that has our management fee built in. So when we in our maps and anyone hires as an advisor, 332 plan, we have a CIT that doesn't have a GGA management fee. But for those people who might be a 320, a 321, or 338 and still want to use our system and use our CITs, we can put a fee on those CITs as well to help you with those.
And what would be the ideal client? What would be the ideal client for you?
I mean, I think the ideal client is going to be the advisor that's looking to increase their business, and the ideal client from the end user is going to be that small plan that that small to mid-sized plan that's at least for the GGA map that really wants full service, that needs it so they can focus on the business. A lot of our plans that we have are standalone, but that's why we created the GGA map.
Okay, and you have this vast investment experience. What should advisors be telling their employers and employees, the plan participants right now?
Um, for the, with regard, if you want to talk about the markets, we're pretty good at the markets. But I think what we did for our clients on the information, we did over 20 something webinars, probably 20, for all of our clients. And we basically went through what the employees should be doing to help themselves and really encourage them to call their advisor, call their professional, their advisor, and we gave them some tool sets to get out there. One of the things that we did was great. I created the happy face, and the happy face was basically, illustrating how the participant, if they just keep their contributions the same and they keep buying and buying and buying, they're just buying more shares at a lower price. And when we come out the other end, and we're up big, we haven't lost that much anymore in the market. The Nasdaq's up on the year. When we come out the other end, historically, when I look at the studies, there's about a 42% increase in wealth. So I think that's one big thing that the advisors should be, telling their employees, keep putting in. What we did on some of our webinars to the employees, and this is also for our advisors as well, to their employees. We actually told people when the market's down, you should be probably doubling up on your, if you can afford it, double up on your contributions and just not put anything in at the end of the year when the markets are down, right? Just to put a little extra in there. So if you're putting in $1,000 a month away, put a little extra in now and just put in a little less later. Those are some things to do. On the markets themselves, I think the markets are going to be higher next year. The stimulus package is just unprecedented. It is absolutely unbelievable. My best guess on the S&P for next year, as long as we don't have COVID and some other things happening, is I think the market could be well north of 3,200 next year, well north. And I said that when the market was at 2,500 too, by the way. I think in the very, very, very short term, I think the markets, the value, all I can tell you is that the valuation's a little higher today than it was before COVID hit. So I think people are pretty enthusiastic, and rightly so. The S&P is probably the best, predictor out there, and it's predicting a lot of good things. So in the old adages, you don't fight the Fed, right? So when you have lower interest rates, it'll eventually come through. This is a different type of recession. Because it's induced. It's not a cyclical recession that just happens because of demographics. This is just something completely different. And I think the government's doing everything they can to, right the ship for the long term. And I'd be happy if someone wants to have a conversation on that and, want some documentation, some slides, just email me. Okay.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. We'll be back in 10 minutes. We'll take a break and be back in 10 minutes. Thank you. We're going to start and back up in about a minute. And in that minute, of course, time for me to shill again. Friday, June the 5th, we're going to do this again for a third edition of this. If interested in signing up, the link is already up. If you check LinkedIn, Twitter, whatnot, if you want to present, reach out to me. It's a fun way to get your message out in front of 100 or so attendees at certain points. That's it. But James, you want to start the ball rolling?
Sure. All right. Thanks again for affording us the time. My name is James Holland. I'm with Millennium Investment and Retirement Advisors. With me today is Chad Azera from Professional Capital Services, and Peter Maroney from Russell Investments. We're an RIA based in Charlotte, North Carolina. Our sole focus is in the qualified plan space. We act as an independent fiduciary for our advisor partners. All of our business comes from outside advisors. We fill the role of 321, 338, 316, or some combination thereof for the different advisors. We help them build the practice, whether it comes to folks who are in the space and trying to get to the next level, or people who are just trying to get started. So we spent the better part of the last year trying to find what we believe to be the next program that advisors need going forward in this space. So we've been working very closely with PCS and Russell, and Chad will give you a little bit about them in a moment, and then Peter's going to walk you through the PRA system. For any advisor who's going to compete going forward, you have to be able to embrace the technology, but you don't want to alienate the relationship aspect of the business. You have to also do the automation in order to make yourself more profitable. We believe that the next gen program you're about to see does all of that. We're going to jam about an hour's worth of information in about 20 minutes. So if anyone's looking for a demo of the system or want to take a deeper dive, you can reach out to myself, Chad, or Peter will be able to help you walk right through it. The main point being is that this is an open architecture program, and it provides fiduciary services not just on the plan level, but also the participant level. I think Lyle had brought up the point about target date funds getting beat up. For you advisors who have a lot of clients who are in their 50s and are sitting in those target date funds, a lot of those people are wondering, wait a second, do I need to not set it and forget it anymore? Do I need to have something a little more personalized? And that's exactly what the PRA system does. So I'm going to turn it over to Chad, give you a little bit about PCS, and then Peter's going to walk you through the PRA. So go ahead, Chad.
Yeah, thanks, James. Thanks, Ari, for having us. PCS, for those that don't know us, we're a fully open architecture firm founded in 2001 out of by Rissentex law attorneys who saw a need for a conflict-free, full disclosure, no hidden agenda retirement solution. So our vision is really to become the most effective retirement provider based on quality, performance, value, and outcomes. To do that, we partner with firms like James and Millennium and Russell. We spend a lot of time and effort on our integrations and growing our firm. We're about 23 billion in retirement plans, 18,000 plans. We purchased Aspire in September of last year, which opened up a new channel of non-ERISA 403Bs and HSAs and simples. So we're a fast-growing firm, and we believe this solution is going to help us grow even faster. Thanks.
Yeah, Peter, if you want to take it from here and walk them through. I
Can't hear you, Pete.
Ari, is there some way of?
He's not there. Pete is not there.
Not there. Okay.
I see him.
Yeah.
He's not listed on the panel list.
He's the second James.
Second James, can you is there a
Second James.
Yes. Can you unmute the second James? Do you see that one?
He has no access to the microphone. I don't know how to. Yeah, he can't. He has no access to a microphone. He just has video.
All right.
His computer audio might not be might not be connected.
All right, I'm gonna.
Now he unmute. Okay.
Ari, can you hear me? It's Peter.
Yeah, I got you.
Yes. There you go. All right. There we go.
All right, we'll see if we can.
Can't hear you. Can't hear you. Oh boy.
All right.
These things happen.
All right. Hang in there. Very good.
Should we have him call in?
He could call me on my cell phone and do it that way. Is he still there?
Yeah. Here, what about, I'll call him and put him next to my
Okay.
my laptop.
There's always these technical difficulties.
Yeah.
Chad, you there?
Yeah. Can everybody hear him?
I can hear him.
Okay.
All right, well, do apologize about that confusion here. Now, not even going to try to put a Bluetooth on my cell phone here, and I'll go from holding the phone, which will be a fun experience. But Ari, very much thank you for having me on this. Chad joked, I don't know if you guys can see me, but I'm wearing a jersey because you said I had to wear a jersey to be part of this, but obviously that's not the case. So thanks a lot, Chad, for that. So as James mentioned, here at Russell Investments, we've partnered with Millennium and PCS to bring a personalized 338 solution as the QDIA within all of the plans associated with the next generation retirement plan solution. My name is Peter Maroney. I've been at Russell Investments for about 10 years now. Majority of my time has been focused on direct defined contribution plan business that Russell manages and advises to in the multi-billion space, and recently just started working with James over the last year to partner with him and Chad on bringing together this solution to advisors across the country. And Ari, maybe if you can flip to page 3. In a nutshell, I think it's important we peel back the onion and just understand what we're offering here altogether. So the next generation retirement plan solution allows you as a broker-dealer or RIA plan advisor to effectively outsource the 338 fiduciary duties associated with those plans that you're seeing, as well as the record keeping and Russell Investments 338 participant level customized solution personalized retirement accounts. So this is a nice visual, I think, to see where everybody fits in and where Russell fits in alongside within the next generation retirement plan solution. And all right, we can go to the next one real quick so I can get through this. Many of you might know Russell Investments. We are the founder of Traditional Consulting, Plan Consulting. Currently, we're either number 1 or number 2 in regards to rank as an outsourced chief investment officer services. So manage multiple billion-dollar pools of assets, both on the defined benefit side primarily and defined contribution side. If we think about where Russell has come, most of our solutions have always been predicated on that model advice or model asset allocation guidance. So when we're working with a mega pension plan that might be Duke Energy in Charlotte with $10 billion, we're looking at that pension plan's asset allocation based on the pension plan's funded status. Again, not to get into pension math here, assets over liabilities equals a funded status, of which predicates the asset allocation if that pension plan actually implements within their plan. Thinking about what we have with the QDIA solutions and personalized retirement accounts, you all have probably been familiar with target date funds and the single manager target date funds that record keepers, proprietary record keepers have offered. So think of the Fidelity Freedom Funds, the T. Rowe funds, Vanguard funds, etc. Over the course of the last 15 to 20 years, multi-manager target date funds have also come into the space. So firms like Russell, Northern Trust, SEI, and others offer solutions like this that effectively brings you the best of breed investments under one NAV type product in the target date fund space. Probably in the late 2000s, I would say 2005, 2007, there was a demand for custom target date funds. Custom target date funds is simply just us at Russell or other firms building customized target date funds for that organization's employees, period. These organizations might have mega billion asset pools of which we are building customized target date funds based on their unique employee base. Taking that same concept, this is what we've designed over the last several years as personalized retirement accounts. PRA is building a customized asset allocation automatically for each participant in a DC plan. So customized to each participant, we actually pull data and create an asset allocation for them without their input. And Ari, you could go to slide 5. You know, and target date funds have been great, right? We all know that they've done a really good job over the course of the last decade of allocating participants and removing maybe risk associated with a participant putting all their eggs in one basket, having a 25-year-old invested in all fixed income or a 60-year-old invested in all equity. They've been great because there's been no participant interaction required at all. It's a very simple process, and we want to emulate that process through other QDIA solutions that we built at Russell. Again, as I mentioned, it provides a well-diversified portfolio across different asset classes, whether that's in U.S. equities, international equities, real assets, and fixed income. And they still consider the biggest risk factor for participants in their retirement of that being age, right? Trying to hone in on when, in fact, they should retire, adjusting that asset allocation appropriately. Most have been reasonably cost. I mean, I think we've seen fees come down in the industry over the last 13 years that I've actually been in the DC space. And again, target dates were in line with QDIA requirements. So what we've tried to do with PRA is take all of these great things about target date funds and implement them in the same way within the product and not adding more disruption to participants, but also realizing that target date funds can be improved greatly. They need to consider factors like gender, salary, account balance, contribution rate. They need to consider if a participant has an outside DB plan, has other income sources. And we're seeing this a lot now where I'm actually being asked, okay, from other RIAs and large banks, you know, to review their target date funds as, you know, the target date funds equity exposures have been very difficult for participants to handle right now, them not realizing what type of exposures they've had this close to retirement. QDIAs also need to adjust to actual market experience, just like we're seeing right now. And I think Lyle might have talked on this from when I joined in as well, or caught the end of it. But, you know, right now is a great time for the QDIAs to be adjusting to each participant's actual experience based on their actual data points. So with PRA, what we're trying to do is take all of these into the actual QDIA experience. And again, automatically without any participant input. All right, the next slide, please.
Sure.
I appreciate it very much. And that's the general overview of what PRA is in a nutshell. PRA is, as simply put, creating a customized portfolio based on each participant's individual circumstances, utilizing the investments in the plan. We are targeting a retirement income goal for each participant to increase the likelihood that they'll be able to satisfy their lifestyle through retirement. Let's back up a second and think about Russell, this mega defined benefit pension manager. Remember I said assets over liabilities equals a funded status, of which we're trying to manage for in these pension plans. What we've done in PRA is taking those unique factors, age, gender, account balance, salary, contributions, and we actually create a funded status for each participant automatically. In a nutshell, we are DBizing the DC plan. We get this data automatically from the PCS record keeper system and apply our capital markets methodology and asset allocation advice for each participant. Again, taking this DB funded status heritage that we have and just applying it to the individual, all aimed at a target retirement income goal that is customized for each individual. Next one, Ari. So how does it all really work? Operationally, PRA acts exactly like a target date fund. It's in line with QDIA requirements. It's simple. There's no participant input needed at all. PRA automatically in the back end on PCS collects these data points. We get those data points on a quarterly basis from the record keeper and determine the targeted retirement income goal for each participant. That goal is determined. We then look at the funded ratio of that participant to the goal and align their asset allocation appropriately based on the investments that are on the plan menu. The investments that are utilized are obviously decided on by Millennium, your outsourced 338 investment manager, of which could be Vanguard funds, could be Dimensional funds, could be active American funds, could be anything out there that Millennium is actually researching and doing their due diligence on. Think of PRA as an asset allocation overlay that's moving a participant's asset allocation in line with their targeted retirement income goal on a quarterly basis. So just like right now with the market selling off in March, in April, participants in PRA, it readjusted their asset allocation, saying, well, your funded status went down by 10%. Automatically, we're going to readjust your asset allocation going forward. And again, there was no participant input needed. So a very cool thing to take advantage of the market sell-off and then the rise as well. But one key thing I want to mention here is that we're not trying to market time at Russell. There's no moving to cash. There's no heavy swings at all in asset allocation from 10 to 20% up and down the efficient frontier in terms of a model portfolio. These tilts are moderately made, but again, in line with the funded status methodology that we've applied within the tool. Next slide, Ari. I'm being cognizant of time as well. Again, here are the data points that we have available that automatically we get from the PCS record keeping system. So you have age, right? The single biggest factor, as I mentioned before, to determine the length of time to retirement. That's going to be a huge factor in determining the equity to fixed income exposure that a participant has. Gender. We know that participants typically, if they're women, they will live longer. In fact, if we can't get a payroll feed for PRA from the actual plan sponsor on the PCS system, we will default a participant to female for longevity reasons to ensure that the asset allocation is aligned with somebody that's going to live longer. Contribution rate, we receive this automatically so we know when somebody's saving. Current account holdings, we can see what their balance is and what their exposure is. And then salary as well. We actually use this to determine the retirement income goal and adjust for inflation on an ongoing basis. If a participant has a defined benefit plan, an ESOP plan, if they have outside accounts, rental income, any type of other asset or even a brokerage account, we have built a tool that sits on the PCS record keeper system that allows a participant to go in and add in outside accounts. Think of this like Mint. You go in and just put in your data and automatically PRA is pulling this information on a daily basis to be modeled into your 401k asset allocation. Again, to use the tool, that's all voluntary, but it is available. And at least we found at Russell that attorneys, engineers, pilots, and even manufacturers for that matter, they want to see whether or not they're winning or losing for retirement. They want to see what their actual funded status is. And that's what PRA is also telling participants, whether or not they're on track to meet their retirement income goal. Next slide, Ari, slide 9, please. And let's just look at hypotheticals here of 3 participants. These are 3 actual participants. And actually, I like to start all the way on the right side of this. If all 3 were in a target date fund, and for this example, just one here, they'd all have the same asset allocation because they're all the same age. They're 50 years old. They'd have 23% of capital preservation exposure and 77% of growth exposure. But we all know that's not accurate to each individual circumstances. We all know that each individual has different circumstances going on with them. Gender. The female, for example, here, participant A, they're going to live longer. We know that from the actuarial studies that we see at Russell. She has a really good salary, but her contribution rate is very low. A great account value, but she's very underfunded for what she should be on track to maintain her lifestyle. In this essence, her asset allocation would be at a higher growth risk versus the standard 2035 target date fund. Looking at participant B, this participant's on track. He has a lower base. He's a male, so not going to live as long, hypothetically. His contribution rate's been really good. Account value's pretty solid, too, for what he has been able to take home. He's what we would call on track or funded. So just like a pension plan, taking that methodology that we have, we de-risk that participant and lock in that funded status. Similar to if you know pension math and LDI and all of those type of methodologies, getting this participant in a place where he is going to win the game for retirement. Sometimes we see participants, and this is very rare that it happens, like participant C, who's way overfunded, extremely overfunded. In this case, this participant is so overfunded, well, he's already won the game for retirement. He's already going to be able to satisfy his lifestyle. In this case, once a participant is over, call it around 150% funded, we actually have the ability to re-risk them a little bit. Now, this is counterintuitive to what you do in a pension. If a pension was 183% funded, well, you're probably calling MetLife or New York Life or trying to get rid of that business on your balance sheet. A participant here is different, though. The participant, they might want to save more or leave more to their grandchildren. They might want to start a foundation. So we're trying to maximize the results for them at that juncture. Again, we don't see a lot of participants in this boat or in this camp, but in essence, they've already won the game. They're playing with house money. So they can, swing away to get their best golf game of the year if they know they're maybe a shot behind in the last hole. But again, we don't see a lot of participants in that vein. Next slide, Vern. And one of the things we provide to Millennium and through PCS is reporting on each plan that goes into PRA. So we actually give you a trend analysis that shows all of your participants and how they are tracking for funded status by age. Think about how powerful this is when you could go into a committee meeting and show that head of HR and show that treasurer that, hey, actually your match is going to good use. Look at this, the funded status rankings of your participants is going up. Pretty powerful documents that we can provide to you for each plan on a customized basis. And next slide, Ari, slide 11. I mentioned the retirement planner tool that we have available on PCS Retirement on their site. This tool is a 5-step process. And I can say from my own luxury that I'm in the PRA solution at Russell Investments, and I go through this tool daily. When you log on, you see a script of all your actual details, your age, when you're planning to take Social Security, your retirement age, your savings rate, your gender, of which you can edit things. You can go through this 4 or 5-step process and add in your outside accounts. You can also adjust your savings rates. You can adjust when you want to retire. And as you adjust the different metrics within the tool, that green line at the top will move closer or farther away from your funded ratio goal. And that's what that's telling you on an annual basis. PRA does more than just actually allocating a participant in a better way than a target date fund. It also recommends to a participant to defer retirement. So instead of 65 in this case, PRA could tell them defer to 67. PRA will also recommend to a participant to save more. So in this case, the participant is 5%. PRA might make a recommendation to save 6%. PRA, though, will always only make recommendations for savings at 2% increments. We can't tell a participant to move from 5% to 15%. It just would be, unheard of. Nobody has the money to do that. Typically, on a, on a dime. But PRA does more than just asset allocation. We're recommending retirement deferrals if needed and recommending savings contribution increases too. So a really cool tool. I'd highly recommend if you want to see it. It's a 15-minute walkthrough. James and Chad and I do WebExes on this on a weekly basis. And it's really powerful to go through it and just see the value that you can add to participants through a site like this. And next slide. Ari, please. So again, let's just look at the key benefits of this. PRA is within the next generation retirement plan solution, requires no interaction at all. Participants will be allocated appropriately. They will have a better mousetrap for retirement. It solves for each participant's retirement income goal, unlike a target date fund, which solves just on a general basis for what that target date fund is trying to replace. Again, it automatically creates and rebalances customized investment portfolios for each participant. Rebalancing is done. The asset allocation changes are done without any input. And then we can include other account balances and other accounts on an outside basis with a participant wanting to actually interface with the retirement planner tool on the PCS system. I think that was the last slide, Ari, but I'm happy to answer any questions, or James, Chad, you guys chime in.
We got two questions from the audience. Is PRA only available through PCS's record-keeping platform?
That's a really good question, and maybe I'll answer this first, Chad, and then you can chime in too, and James. So the PRA is available on a number of different record keepers. The next generation retirement plan solution with this full, 338 fiduciary installation, as you might have it, is only available through PCS. But yes, you can offer PRA is offered through other record keepers. And Chad, James, any thoughts on that?
And the second question is PRA, it is a managed account. All right, so it's not, they want to know if there was a difference. It's not a difference. It is a managed account. That's exactly what it is.
Yep.
Well, great. Well, Ari, again, Peter, thank you for that. Ari, thank you again for the time. If anyone, like Peter mentioned, would like to get a more in-depth demonstration, feel free to reach out, and we'd be happy to set it up for you.
What are your contact info? Because it's not on the slide.
Oh, I put it in the chat as well. But again, Peter, you can reach me at James H at Mira, M-I-R-A Center, CENTER.com. My phone number is 704-743-3226, and our website is fix401k.com.
Yeah, and anybody needs to reach out to me, they can, and I can certainly forward any questions whatsoever that they have.
Great.
Okay.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Art. Thanks for the time.
Thank you, Ari. Thank you, James. Thank you, Chad.
Our next presentation is Roger Jorgensen from Alaris. Health savings accounts is one of my favorite topics, and the reason it's one of my favorite topics is because nobody's talking about it, and it's something that they should be talking about it, because quite honestly, I think advisors that are not talking about it are really leaving money on the table, and especially in times like this, not a good idea. So Roger, you there?
Great. Yeah, thanks a lot. Yeah, I'm excited to talk to you all. I've been involved in HSAs since their inception. I've done thousands of employee meetings. I come from the insurance side, not the advisor side. So that'll probably become apparent as I'm talking. But here's the thing. We have a great opportunity, and I'm going to go through and explain that. Advisors being involved in health savings account could change the face of how health savings accounts are perceived. With that, could you do the next slide?
Sure.
Thank you to my assistant, Ari, for advancing slides for me. I want to mention there's over 25 million HSAs in force, represents 75 billion in assets, and that's growing. However, only 17 billion of those dollars are actually invested. That means there's 58 billion sitting in cash. And why is that? I'm going to go through and posit an explanation for why that is the case. Next slide, please, Ari. So as we look at that in the next slide too, that's the assets that are invested. I'm going to talk through a little bit about who is this population that have HSAs and why aren't they investing? Now, what's interesting is, and I've seen this happen at multiple employers, that the consciousness of their health plan, understanding how medical, dental, vision type services are purchased goes way up with the advent of high deductible plans and HSAs. HSA participants are more fluent in healthcare concepts, and notice 39% more confident that they understand how the insurance works. 34% more confident interpreting the plan details. 38% more confident that they understand what their plan covers. 51% more confident interpreting the EOBs, the explanation of benefits that we get from the provider, because it's their money. That's why. The next slide, please. So let's test our IQs and your IQ. First, I want to, in terms of health savings accounts, hit the next advanced one. 76% of employees say they understand how HSAs work. Matter of fact, I would venture to say 90% of you would say you understand how HSAs work. Next bullet point, please, Ari. Only 12% can correctly identify common attributes of an HSA. Now, 12% seems low. It's lower for employers. Employers that were tested actually tested lower than 12%, which tells me they don't really understand HSAs. And I can tell you why in just a few minutes. Next slide, please, Art. So if an account holder, this question for you, runs out of money during the year, how much of this year's claims can be reimbursed next year? Answer? Ari? 100%. So why is that important? Well, because before HSAs, there were flexible spending accounts, and flexible spending accounts had a use it or lose it feature. Now, often when we have done initial enrollment, employers have characterized HSAs much like FSAs, flexible spending accounts. They're anything but a flexible spending account. They're 10 times more valuable, and I'll go through that as we go forward. Next slide, please. Can an employer require employees to open a health savings account? Answer? Next slide. No, they cannot. So that means there's got to be some incentive for an employee. Sometimes it's not enough to say, well, we'll just we'll make this available to you and you can put your money in. If there's no employer contribution, they may not feel incentivized. And part of that is because they might not understand the value of the HSA into retirement. Next slide, please. So can a person have more than one HSA? Answer, yes. And we see this quite often. A employer that chooses a local bank and they don't have investment options, the employees will go out and take a second HSA so they have those investment options if they're investment savvy and want to do that. So it's important for employers to have choices to have HSAs with investment options. Next slide, please. So how much of the 7,100 family limit can a person contribute if they begin their HSA on December 1st? So they're only on the plan for 1 month in that year. How much can they contribute? And the answer, $7,100. However, there's a rule: they must stay on the plan all of the following year in order for that to all be tax qualified. But still, $7,100 for an employee that begins their HSA sometime during the year, they can contribute the maximum. Next slide, please. So under the Affordable Care Act, adult children can stay on their parents' plan until age 26. Advance once, please. How much can the adult child contribute to their own HSA? Now, this question is important for you wealth managers. Every wealth manager ought to know the answer to this question, because there are numerous adult children out there who are still on their parents' plan and covered by the high deductible health plan that technically, if they're not a tax dependent, may not have any source of money if they have a medical expense because their parents' HSA would not be eligible to pay that expense. What's the answer, Ari? $7,100. An adult child is covered by family coverage. The requirement for how much to contribute to an HSA says you must be on a qualified high deductible health plan. Secondly, you can't have conflicting coverage. And then to determine the amount you can contribute is predicated on the level of coverage you have on a high deductible health plan. An adult child is covered by family coverage. So the adult child can contribute $7,100. And since anybody can contribute to anybody else's HSA, a parent can then contribute $7,100 into a child's HSA, an adult child who's no longer a tax dependent. Next slide, please, Ari. So in order to have an HSA, you've got to be on the right health plan. You've got to be on a qualified high deductible health plan. So key characteristics of the HSA is it's a trust, it's established in your name. At termination, it's your money, goes with you wherever you go. At retirement, still your money, better than a retirement plan. I know I've offended a number of you, but I'll explain that as we go forward. And then my wife's favorite, at death, it transfers to a spouse as an HSA. Anybody else has a taxable event like a checking or a savings account. Next slide, please. So in eligibility, in order to open or contribute an HSA, not only do you have to be on the right health plan, you can't have what's called conflicting coverage, another health plan. That could be a health FSA, so a spouse who's participating in a medical payment flexible spending account, medical dental vision, that would actually cause someone to not be eligible to contribute to an HSA. Cannot be enrolled in Medicare. So once somebody takes a Social Security check, they automatically get Part A of Medicare, or if they were to take Medicare B or D, those are also conflicting coverages. Medicare, TRICARE, Medicaid, TRICARE, which is active retired military benefits. And then additionally, it can't be a child who is still claimed as a tax dependent. They cannot open or contribute to their own HSA. Next slide, please. So back to the characteristics of an HSA participant. They're savvier spenders. They are 46% more likely to research costs and compare costs. So let me ask you a question. If you're going to get an MRI, where would you have it? If you have it in the hospital, it's $3,000. If you have it at a freestanding MRI center, it's $600. Same location on the body, same picture, different location though where you have it, huge difference in cost. People who have HSAs know that. They shop their prescriptions. They're more likely to find out price before they receive the services. They're more likely to research the quality effectiveness. When my doctor got an HSA, he told me which pharmacy I should go to where it was cheapest. Made a huge difference in terms of how he treated me as a patient, knowing I had an HSA and he had an HSA. And they're 30% more likely to seek alternatives, to look for other ways to treat that. I have a broker friend who son was hurt in a baseball game, and they came in and said he needs an MRI. He said, "What are we looking for?" They said, "We're looking to see if it's broken." He said, "Can't we just do an X-ray?" Why? An X-ray is significantly cheaper. And if that's what they were looking for, then that's what they should do, and that's what they did do. Next slide, please. So HSA participants are more focused on cost and value, cost reduction, 25% more focused on cost reduction, 23% more likely to make cost-based decisions, 44% more confident that they can forecast out-of-pocket costs, 50% more confident that they're paying the right amount when they pay. And where this is significant is after an employee accumulates enough to cover their maximum out-of-pocket in the year, they begin to lighten up and they begin to purchase services because now they know that they can afford it. There's something almost magical that happens when employees have accumulated money in their HSA. Next slide, please. So in terms of contributions, you can just click a couple times here. Contributions are pre-tax, no tax. So an HSA is unique. No tax going in, no tax on the accumulation, no tax going out. By the way, Alabama made a change, and they also state tax is tax deductible. So it's California and New Jersey. Next slide, please. So, and again, Ari, you can click a few times here. You may contribute to your HSA. The maximum you can contribute in 2020 is $3,550 for single, $7,100 for family. If you're 55 or older, you can put in an additional $1,000. Another wealth manager hint is that if a spouse wants to contribute their $1,000, they must open their own HSA. So when my wife turned 55, we opened an HSA for her. So I do the 7,100 plus 1,000 for being over 55. We do an additional 1,000 for my wife. So this year we'll have done $9,100 in pre-tax contributions into our health savings account. You can change your contribution at any time. Where this is significant is for young people who don't fully contribute to their HSA and something happens they weren't anticipating, they can make a change in contribution, set up a payment plan with a provider. We have educational slides available. We can help train you in terms of HSAs, and I will talk more about that as we go forward. Contributions earn interest, and they can be invested. Next slide, please, Art. Distributions, you can take money out anytime for any reason. You're never taxed if it's for a qualified expense, which I'll go through in a moment. Distributions for non-qualified expenses like going on vacation, you're taxed plus a 20% excise tax. However, notice at 65, the excise tax goes away, no longer applies. So that means it works just like my 401k, a traditional 401k. If I take money out and want to spend it on whatever I want, then I will simply pay income tax as I draw it out. However, if it's for a qualified medical, dental, vision, hearing expense, never taxed. That's what makes it better than the retirement plan. You don't have to take the money out of the HSA in the year you incur the expense. Part of the strategy with an HSA is trying to accumulate dollars in my account. I'm earning interest on it. I can invest it. The earnings on the investments, tax-free. And if I have left the money in there but used other dollars, after-tax dollars, to pay for that expense, I've kept the receipt, I can take that money out anytime in the future. I can accumulate thousands of dollars in my HSA and then decide at the appropriate time I want to take that out. If I have the receipts for those expenses, they come out tax-free. And unlike a retirement plan, there's no required minimum distribution with an HSA. So if I'm healthy and I want to leave the money right in there, I can do so. What's the qualified expense? Medical, dental, vision, and effective 1/1/2020 because of the CARES Act, the over-the-counter medicines and drugs have been reinstituted. So I can buy Advil, Tylenol, and other expenses. I mentioned dental and vision. Vision includes cheater reading glasses, anything in the structure or function of the body. So that's why dental and vision's included. And then a lot of people don't realize that when we are Medicare age and we take Medicare, we take Social Security, those Medicare premiums come out of our Social Security payment. A lot of people don't realize that. So Medicare B is around $230 a month. Medicare D for prescription drug coverage is about $30. So let's say on average, $300 for one person. A couple would be $600. That money is being deducted from Social Security checks. They could take that $600 from their HSA and put it right back into their checking account and have spendable income on the dollars because they've accumulated money in their HSA. Also long-term care insurance, and now COBRA premium. A lot of people are going on COBRA. They can use their HSA to pay for those COBRA expenses. And all of the dependents expenses are eligible to be reimbursed from an HSA regardless of where their health coverage is. You could have a spouse on another plan, you could have children on another plan, and that HSA can be used to reimburse their expenses. Or they can save those receipts and take it out anytime in the future. What's not covered? Something entirely for appearance purposes, cosmetic, and then general health items like health club dues, vitamins, supplements, those kinds of things. They're not medically necessary. They're not a medicine or a drug to treat a condition, so they're not eligible. HSA participants are largely missing out on the value of investing. Why is that? I'm going to talk about that next. 13% have invested their HSA assets. 54% don't even know they have investment options in their HSA. 20% claim they have little confidence in the topic of investments. That comes up in every meeting. Someone will say, who can give me guidance? How do I go about doing this? Next slide, please. HSA participants are more focused on saving. So you've got a great thing. And I hear this all the time when I talk to advisors, when I've been president at 401k, people aren't saving enough. HSA people are saving because they have a goal. They want to get their out of pocket. But then after that, if they understand an HSA, they are saving more. 80% more likely to save aggressively for long-term care, healthcare costs. Or long-term healthcare costs. More confident forecasting how much they should save, 75% of them. 68% more likely to have a savings goal, and 50% more likely to save for healthcare when they have extra cash. Next slide, please. Why are 87% of the assets not invested? Answer, Ari? Because they don't get financial guidance at a typical benefits meeting. Next slide, please. Employees agree the #1 most helpful resource in improving financial wellness is advice from a professional. Next slide. So I'm going to come back to this later. Next slide. I just want to keep with this theme. Here's employers' primary concern in adopting an HSA is employee education. Employees aren't investing because they don't know how. Employees don't understand the HSA. As a matter of fact, I would venture to say most employers really don't understand an HSA. The worst case scenario is an HR manager who doesn't participate in the HSA because they don't have a clue how it can benefit their employees. Next slide, please. Oh yeah, double click, yep. So with insurance, you have to understand that typically in the insurance meeting, we're going to talk about the deductible changing, premium increases, dental coverage changes, anything else that the employer wants to throw. It's the kitchen sink of benefits. It's 1 hour, and that employee is going to have to understand all of these changes that are taking place. And now often they're talking about how you can enroll online. How much time do you think is spent educating a participant on the value of the health savings account, and how much time is spent talking about the investment options? I will tell you 0 is spent on investment options. And another part of that is the insurance broker typically is not compensated for it. Why aren't they? Because they're compensated on the health insurance, and so they don't want compensation or haven't taken compensation on the HSA. They just soon not deal with it. Let someone else do that. But notice the potential with the advisor is if the education can be done along with the 401k, and you're talking about saving and investing and building for the future, the advisor has an advantage in talking to them about investing, and they can emphasize that saving and investment and the value in the retirement. Next slide, please. So as we align HSA investments with 401k investments, advisors will influence employees toward greater savings and investing. Next slide, please. So what are we doing? What is Alaris doing? And you can click through a few of these, Ari. We've got single sign-on. If you're back, please. If you have an Alaris 401k and you have HSA, FSA, and HRA with us, it's all single sign-on. We are the custodian. That's a misprint, so not a sub-custodian. We are a custodian of the assets. What does that mean? Well, because we're a bank, we can loan out those assets. That means we can reduce the cost of the investment pieces, which we have done. When Alaris bought us 4 years ago, we moved to non-revenue sharing investment fund lineup. But now, as of last September, we can match the 401k investments within the HSA. And it doesn't have to be an Alaris 401k. It can be whatever 401k you're using. If we get that investment lineup from the advisor, we can load that in and we can make that available in the HSA, which means the advisor now, knowing the funds and participating in the education, involving the HSA in the education, can get paid on those assets. We can either pay on the assets or we can pay a per head per month fee, depending on what the advisor would like to do. But I maintain that advisors being involved in participating in HSA education, by talking about the funds and the fund lineup and the value of the HSA and the retirement, not only will you have more people investing their HSAs, which are balances they already have, but you're also probably going to drive up some 401k participation as well, because of the fact that they see the value in the HSA today. And whereas the 401k they're thinking about in terms of retirement, they'll see the connection between the two. Next slide, please. So questions to ask. Go ahead and click through these, Ari. Questions to ask: are you satisfied with the level of education your employees receive on their 401k? I'm sure you're all asking that question now. But what about the HSA? Are you satisfied with that? And honestly, when I've had that question, employers will say, yes, I am. Then I'll ask them some questions. Do you understand the value in the retirement in terms of how it will pay for Medicare premium? No, they don't really know that, not unless they're close to retirement age. Have they considered combining the education, 401k with HSA? You can add HSA information, and it's going to be 5 to 10 minutes into a 401k presentation, and you'll have highlighted it. Are you presenting it again from an investment perspective? Because often they miss that on the HSA. They're not thinking investments. I've had employers tell me, I don't want to talk, this is our first year, we don't want to talk about investing it because we just want people to contribute to it. Well, guess what? In the second, third, fourth, fifth years, they're not talking about investing because they don't have time in the meetings to do that. How confident are you in your current HSA fund lineup? I'll bet you employers can't even name their HSA funds. It's been created by someone else. They probably, generally, they don't cover that. But they have, sometimes they have meetings, or you've created their 401k fund lineup. They're confident in those funds. They get reports on those funds. Wouldn't it be great to add those funds to their HSA lineup? Next slide. Do your employees understand the value of HSAs and paying for Medicare premiums? I just have found that that is just an easy way for employees to understand the fact that when they're retired and they're on a fixed income and they're getting their Social Security check, they're going to be paying for their health coverage, their Medicare premiums. And if they've accumulated money in their HSAs, that will help give them more spendable income each month. Next slide. So what questions do you have? Ari, I'm hoping you can look that up. I just want to go back. I skipped a slide. I want to mention this. If I have $20,000 in my HSA, okay, and I retire, and now I'm going to pay for healthcare with that $20,000, I will pay no tax. If I take that out of my 401k, I'll pay tax as I draw that money out. That tax depends on my tax bracket, right? I could pay $4,000 on that $20,000 or $8,000 on that $20,000. I'm going to pay tax as I draw it out to pay for healthcare. That is unnecessary if they've accumulated money in their HSA.
Yeah, we have a bunch of questions.
Yeah.
As I thought. If you and your spouse are older than 55, is the additional contribution still $1,000?
Yes, it's an additional catch. It's called the catch-up contribution, $1,000 per person. So two, a spouse, husband and wife, each can put $1,000 into their own account.
Okay. Assume the child 25 has income or funds to put in HSA for deductions.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It's not income based. So they can put in up to the $7,100. If they're an adult child, they're not claimed as a tax dependent. They can put that money into their HSA.
If an individual spouse is Medicare eligible, can the individual still open an HSA if the individual is not eligible? If not, what if the spouse is only electing Part A?
Okay, let me go through a couple scenarios here, and these are great questions. So let's suppose the employee is older, and the employee is eligible to go on Medicare, or let's say they're full Social Security age and they decide they want to draw a Social Security check, but they have a younger spouse. And the younger spouse is being covered by the medical plan with their employer. They could have the younger spouse put in the full family contribution if they continue to have family coverage, and the spouse could put in their 1,000 catch-up. Now, the employee becomes ineligible once they either draw a Social Security check because they get automatically Part A of Medicare, or they become ineligible if they just take Medicare. Medicare A, B, or D. C also is an Advantage plan. Any of those would cause someone to be ineligible. But there is a way you can work it out with a spouse and be able to continue to contribute if there's family coverage. However, again, once you get Part A of Medicare, which often comes because you've drawn a Social Security check, that person's ineligible to make a contribution.
Okay. Can an RIA firm make this a stream of revenue? If so, how? That's a nice soft.
Yeah, well, I think, we, next slide, please, Ari. Contact us. Now, look, I told you I'm an insurance guy, but fortunately, there's a guy on this call, Wade Dykema, who I work with. He's an advisor guy. He's the investment guy. He helps me with these scenarios. You contact us and we'll go through the various ways we can do this and work through the details to make it an available revenue generating.
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's a no-brainer for RIAs to work on this. What happens to the HSA account balance when you die?
So it's going to go to my spouse because she runs 5 times a week and she will outlive me. I'm 6'9", probably a little overweight. So we're pretty sure she's going to get the HSA. Anybody else, anybody other than a spouse, it's going to be a taxable asset, just like a checking or savings account, depending on where it goes through a probate or into a trust or whatever. Yep.
Does the adult child up to age 26 count towards the family max of 7,100?
No, it's an independent maximum. They're not. So you've got the family can contribute. And here, let me give you a real life situation that kind of highlights that. My daughter graduated from college. Her husband, they got married right out of college. Her husband was going to be a dental student. So they were going off to a new city. She didn't know if she'd have a job. She had worked at Starbucks when she was in high school. She was thinking maybe she'd start out working at Starbucks. Well, they're married. I'm thinking, gee, what happens if they have a health situation? I couldn't help my son-in-law, but my daughter could stay on our health plan because to age 26 had just happened. I talked to my wife. I said, let's establish an HSA for her. If she has expense, who's going to pay? They're a college student and working at Starbucks. They're not paying for it. We would be coming to their aid. I said, let's establish an HSA. If something happens, we'll funnel the money into the HSA. They'll get the tax deduction, but then they'll have money to pay on medical care. So that's kind of how it would work.
Okay. We have a lot about the HSA as an excellent retirement savings vehicle for a lot of folks. Their out-of-pocket healthcare expenses consume their HSA balance given the the high deductible, high premium design. Who is the ideal candidate to use as an HSA as a retirement savings vehicle? A young, healthy, wealthy person?
Okay, so that goes back. I've got another presentation on the 7 myths of HSAs. One of them is that it really is for the healthy and wealthy. That is baloney. I'll tell you why. Because managing healthcare expenses, understanding how to utilize the plan really works for everybody. I've actually seen people who max out of their health plan, hit the out-of-pocket maximum, actually benefit under the high deductible health plan with an HSA because they cap out earlier. If you do a comparison between many of the benefit plans and you look at the max out-of-pocket on a low deductible plan and you look at the max out-of-pocket on a high deductible plan, I can tell you often the high deductible plan max out of pocket is less. That means if they put the money in, they get a pre-tax deduction, they accumulate the dollars and they'll spend out less. Alaris is a good example of that. On our benefit plans, we have several options, but I can show you in every scenario, regardless of your claims level, that an employee is better off taking the high deductible health plan and funding their HSA, regardless of the scenario. And that is not unusual. It's that most people aren't numbers people, so they don't go in and take a look at it. If you've got plan designs and you want me to do a comparison, I'd be more than happy to do that. Now it's as time allows, but I'll tell you, if getting into the numbers is an important part of doing the looking at it, and the value long term for someone who has an HSA and builds value is going to be awesome into retirement.
Can you can you have an HSA with one person companies like sole proprietors?
Oh yeah, absolutely. The HSAs, the early adopters were all sole proprietors running their own businesses. They went on a high deductible. Even S Corp owners do a Schedule K. They get to deduct premium and everything, but they get a dollar for dollar reduction. It's an above the line reduction on their contributions into an HSA. Every business owner should have an HSA. Generally they can't do pre-tax premium because they get to deduct the premium. They don't get to do a whole lot pre-tax, so they don't save on FICA and Medicare tax like an employee would on an HSA contribution, but they get a state and federal tax deduction when they do their taxes.
Will HSAs be adjusted up to meet higher deductible plans?
Well, they're indexed for inflation. So in the back in 2005 or 2006, maybe the max contribution was $2,500 single, 5,000 family. Now it's $3,550 single, 7,100 family. So they are indexed for inflation. They continue to move up.
Some have suggested that an HSA is an even better retirement savings vehicle than a 401k. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's like throwing me a softball, oversized bat. Yeah, absolutely. But you can't contribute enough to an HSA to retire on.
Right.
So you need to use your retirement plan. But an HSA is a better vehicle, because you can pay for those out-of-pocket expenses, long-term care insurance, long-term care expenses, Medicare premium, all of those without paying tax.
Last question. I got a couple people here from New York looking for high deductible, high premium plans. Do they exist in New York in order to get an HSA?
That's a great question. Because insurance is so regional, I could tell you probably what's going on in our Minneapolis marketplace, but I cannot tell you for New York necessarily. But I'll just tell you, if you're looking for a broker, the National Association of Health Underwriters, NAHU, they have at their website, Find a Broker. They're members of the organization, so they're involved full-time in healthcare. And they would be able to, you would be able to put in where you are, and a broker name would come up, number of brokers you could choose from.
Okay, last question before the break. Can you put a match in an HSA?
Yes, you can do matching contributions. Thanks for that answer. I was hoping I mentioned that in the presentation. And I told you that there are employees that may not participate. Generally, it's much less for an HSA situation because it's linked to the health plan. But yeah, matching contribution can really get employees involved in participating in the HSA.
Okay, great. There's Roger's contact information. Roger, this was fantastic, like I thought it'd be. And great questions, because like I said, people are leaving money on the table if they're not thinking about HSAs. So thank you, Roger. We're going to take like a 8 or 9 minute break. So thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks. Our next presentation is going to be 4-1-Go. Eden, you there?
Yep. You got me, Aria?
Yep. Okay, let's try to share the screen. And here we go. Okay, we see something, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Great. Yeah, thanks, Ari, and thanks for everyone for joining today on, what is it, day 50, whatever, of COVID lockdown. I'm Eden Yaw. I'm joined with my colleague, Jared Porter. We're in different offices, so we'll be handing off part of the presentation here today. And we're with 401-Go. The topic that we wanted to cover today, and it was really inspired from the last virtual, that 401k conference held on April 17th, was that, you know, in light of 2020, everyone's plans are in total disarray. I mean, not 401k plans, but everyone's just plans of what to do and how to attract business and grow is kind of been thrown a serious curveball. So there are a couple of things we've been ruminating on here at 401-Go that we thought would be relevant to share with this audience, especially the advisors and those who are dealing with employers. So those two things, we're going to cover the state secure choice programs. There's a lot going on there, and we've been really tuned into what's going on. We thought we want to share that with you guys today. And then the second part, we're going to be talking about a little bit of the world of MEPs and PEPs and something we're calling a syndicate that kind of is like a marriage of it. So without further ado, let's go to the secure choice topic. Or let me explain who we are first. Thanks, Ari. So we're 401-Go. You probably haven't heard of us, but if you've been a frequenter of Ari's conferences, I think we've presented 2 or 3 times so far in the physical conferences. This is our first virtual conference. And essentially, we're a 401k plan provider. We're full service. Meaning we're fully bundled. So essentially we're providing a tech-enabled, fully functioning 401k plan where we're doing administration, record keeping, we're doing advisory too, but we also have a way of working with advisors on a 338 or 321 capacity. But we're pretty much meant to be kind of a one-stop destination, one neck to choke, if you will, 401k solution. We're really built around technology, and so a lot of what we're doing is pretty highly automated, and we're not using anyone else's record-keeping system or platform. We built it ourselves. So that's a little bit about us. We do have a partners program too that you might find interesting, especially if you're an advisor considering a 338 or 321 relationship or just a referral type of arrangement. Check us out on our website. So yeah, we're going to be talking about first the state secure choice programs. What are they? It's basically states and large cities sponsoring workplace retirement programs. Now, why are they doing that? Well, as a lot of us know, there's a really big concern about retirement income and how the people's, Americans' ability to prepare for it. The numbers are very, very drastic. And a lot of states throughout the country are seeing the same exact numbers that we have seen in the industry for a long time. And they really look at it through the lens of there's a looming cost to the states to support senior citizens and elderly who are unprepared for retirement. So they're kind of looking at this as saying, if we don't get ahead of this, our budgets are going to be impacted in terms of reduced tax revenue from these people. But more importantly, they can essentially become wards of the state. So what can we do now to prevent that from going forward? So essentially, the states have pursued what secure choice mandates. And the purpose of our discussion today, we're going to focus mostly on the states that have mandated programs, because I think that's where there's the biggest opportunity for advisors and other ones that deal with employer benefits. So as we sit here today, there's 3 states that currently have secure choice programs up and running, and with some that are already have deadlines passed and some that have the deadlines upcoming. In those 3 states, and we're going to get into this in the next slide, Illinois, California, and Oregon. But this is a trend, and we're still early days. There's 4 more states that are planning to roll out mandatory programs. So when I say mandatory, saying employers of a certain size have to participate in the program, or they have to have their own workplace retirement plan, such as a 401k, a SEP, or Simple. So most recently, New Mexico recently had their governor sign a law. So they're going to be, they're on this boat too. And there's a few other states that are actively contemplating this. So this is just start of a trend. We're going to focus more about the states that have programs in process. But these other ones are probably going to be like a few years away before they become live, but it is coming. So how's it going with the ones that are in operation? Again, Illinois, Oregon, and California. As those who've been in the 401k business, it's probably no surprise they're having trouble on the administrative aspects of participating in the secure choice programs. Only about a third are remitting payroll. So that means like about 2/3 have registered with the program, but they're stalled at being able to kind of get the machine moving, if you will, in terms of funding things. Registering is also a problem. A lot of these states require the companies, the employers in their states to be registering. Only about 5% are registering. And some of them are going to be starting to face potential penalties, which we'll get into on the next slide, about what that means. So there's another opportunity for advisors and others to like reach out to companies to help them with this. I think this quote summed it up nicely. This was given by an Oregon business owner to the Oregon State Secure Choice Board of Directors. And the quote is, you have made this whole process burdensome to employers and confusing to employees. Big shocker there, right? A state program that is burdensome to employers. But there you have it. That was a quote right from someone there. So I think we're going to get into a little bit more in the next few slides, but that's kind of the gist of what's going on. On the employee side, they're contributing about 5% on average of those who are participating in the program. That's also the 5% is usually the default automatic enrollment rate. But they're seeing, and all these are automatically enrolled programs. And so participations are running around 60%. But what we're seeing is that a good fifth of people, so about 20%, are dropping out after getting automatically enrolled. So there's a problem there in terms of not getting the message through or the notifications being understood. Ari, if you could go to the next slide, please. So here's a quick kind of overview about the 3 states that are currently in operation, Illinois, Oregon, and California, and about what some of the key things you want to keep in mind about the programs and what the deadlines are. So as you can see here, Illinois is the one that's in a full effect now. And essentially, if you have 25 more employees and you've been in business for more than 2 years, you need to be complying with the program now. Oregon is also underway. So right now, if you have 5 or more employees, you should be participating or have at least registered your exemption if you already have like a 401k plan. And then by January 15th of next year, all employers basically, even if you have 1 employee, you're supposed to be participating in Oregon Saves. CalSavers, that's the California plan. It's open now, but the deadlines are coming up soon. The state recently pushed back their deadline for employers of over 100 people to September. Previously, it was June. But California, as you might imagine, it may be the biggest state. I think John Russin in our last conference, it said that something like, I think it's 5,000 employers of that size that need the program. So I'll let you look at some of the other ones, but between fines and the qualifiers and the fees, you can kind of see what each state is looking at for the ones in the program. And I also add, we have a whole resource page on the 401go website. So we have all this material as well as a lot more to go into it in a little bit more detail. Next slide, please, Ari. Thank you. So the costs of secure choice. So when we really think about this is like, how can you help the employers that either are prospects or maybe some of your clients, weigh the choice here of what they should do. So as you might imagine, there's no actual direct fee for employers for participating in the state secure choice programs. But there's certainly costs to them because there's a lot of work they have to do. And a lot of it boils down to administration. So for example, the employers are responsible for remitting payroll. They have to inform the secure choice program of each and every employee, in some cases, as long as they've been there for 30 days. So, and there's no automation of this at all. So literally an employer or their designee has to go into a portal online and do all this stuff on these terms. So we estimate it takes about 5 minutes to add each new employee. In some cases, they have to distribute information packets to the employees and then remit payroll deductions that are withheld from employees' paychecks to the program every payroll. Again, this is all on them. There's no automation such as payroll integration to do this. And then, of course, and this is the one that usually never like very underreported, is like when something goes wrong, it takes hours to fix it. So when you're dealing with manual entry, which employers are going to have to do, there are going to be mistakes, innocent and maybe deliberate. So there's going to be a lot of effort involved in cleaning that up. So all these just kind of speak to like, from our position at 401go, it's like, well, if you have to do all this administration anyway, why not do less of it on, say, a 401k or another type of qualified plan? The other possibilities of costs here for most employers is that there's a risk of fines and penalties. I think that had that on the prior slide. It can be up to like $750 per employee if you fail to add them to your employee roster. Dealing with employee relations due to auto enrollments. Again, these are auto enrollment programs. A lot of people don't understand the communication. All of a sudden, they get the deduction out of their paychecks, and they're knocking on HR's door saying, "What's going on with that?" So HR's kind of has to kind of deal with that, or try to say, like, "I can't deal with it. Call Secure Choice." But the employees are going to still come and knocking. And also, we believe the opportunity cost. Like, if it looks like this is just like a precursor to offering a 401k or other employer-sponsored plan, why not get on board that sooner? But if you're stuck with the Secure Choice, they're essentially Roth IRAs, and as we all know, you can't roll that money back into a 401k. Next slide, please. So opportunities for you to help employers. For those that already have an eligible retirement plan, one thing that you can do is you can check to see if they registered with the state that they're supposed to. And then there's also a possibility too, like if they have, say, like a 1-year eligibility period in their current retirement plan, they could use Secure Choice for their ineligible employees. Now they can elect to withhold payroll or not, or just tell the employees, like, there's a program for you since you're not eligible for the 401k yet. So there's ways Secure Choice can work in concert with a workplace retirement plan. And I also say, just going back to the registration with the state for employers who already have plans, we have links on our resource page to do that. So if you just wanted to cut and paste that and send it to your clients or your prospects, feel free to hit us up on our resource page. We have that there. You can also inquire about their current plan and providers. As we all know, a lot of plan sponsors are really making some difficult decisions right now about terminating their plans and whether they want to stay in the 401k. But if they're in one of these states where they have the Secure Choice mandate coming up, then you may want to say, like, well, you may just want to stick this up, because even if you terminate the plan, you're going to have to do Secure Choice. So that's our point of view. Next aspect here is, if you're already subject to the mandate, ask if they're participating. As I indicated earlier, the reports are only about 5% have registered, so that means 95% have not. So you can ask about how it's going and if they're having issues. As we're seeing evidence of that, the administration difficulties are starting to escalate up. So you may want to say, look, hey, listen, maybe I have a 401k or other type of retirement plan solution that kind of carves out or eliminates the administrative burdens you're feeling with Secure Choice. And if they're not participating, you might want to tell them, like, hey, listen, you're going to require, and there's potential fines if you don't, and help them with their options, whether they want to do a 401k or what have you. If their deadline is coming up, you might inform them of the mandate and the potential fines, and again, discuss their options there. There's another possibility there where you may want to say, like, hey, why don't you do Secure Choice between now and the deadline, and then then you can make a determination then if you want to do like something else. So there's a few different options there. Again, we go into more detail on our resources page. So there's a piece on our page about the top 10 types of employers that should use a 401k plan instead of Secure Choice. Really couldn't get into it here due to time constraints, but I urge you to check it out again on our 401go's resources page. I'm going to see if there are any questions on the Secure Choice topic before I hand things over to my colleague Jared, who will talk about MEPs, PEPs, and syndicates. Any questions on this topic, Ari?
How do you see other states going in? Do you think other states are going to add it when they see the current states that have the program having difficulty?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think they like to think that these problems will be meted out. Right now, the primary provider that's dealing with the 3 states in operation is the census. So some of the things are related to a census, and they're kind of working through some of those issues. Now, recently, I believe it was Connecticut chose a different provider, something called Someday, which is a Bank of New York affiliate. So there's part of that, but really everyone's kind of looking to California to see what happens there. California has been subject to a lot of litigation on this front too. So the other states, Washington and Oregon, haven't been subject to litigation, but California's withstood about 3 different legal challenges on now. So I think a lot of states are waiting to see what happened there in the courts. They also have a lot of conflict with the current administration about this program. The states are doing this despite what the current federal government wants them to do. So it'll be interesting to see after California, but a lot of states are ramping up legislation. Almost pre-COVID, I would say every week I was getting a news alert on another state legislature looking at these programs. So I don't think it's going to stop.
Okay, that's it for the questions.
Okay, I'll transition.
Somebody just asked, what employer type is more favorable candidate for a secure choice choice plan as opposed to a 401k, whether single employer or a MEP?
Mm-hmm. That's a great question, and we have that a little bit on our resources page as well. I'd say there's a couple of ones that would say you want to do secure choice. I'd say for ones that want absolutely no fiduciary obligation at all with the retirement plan, these secure choice programs were purposely designed to have an exemption on ERISA fiduciary standards. I think that's one type. There's also types of, I would also say, for someone who maybe had an ERISA plan before and got in trouble with it, and maybe they're even prohibited from offering one again, they may be better off going on a secure choice ramp. So there's about 2 or 3 flavors like that, again, we have more on our website, but that would maybe say like, hey, why don't you go that way? But we feel at 401go that between us and other options out there, the costs are coming down. So like even if the employer can not afford to pay or can pay a little bit, it might be a viable alternative than what we were looking at just a few years ago.
Okay. That's it for the
That's
question.
it. Okay, great. Thank you. I'll turn things over to my colleague Jared Porter, who will take us home.
All right, thanks, Aidan. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that everyone's sick of hearing about MEPs and PEPs and everything else. So I didn't want to go into too much of the details on that. I wanted to summarize some different elements from my experience of working with those that are typically overlooked, and from my interactions with different conferences, it hasn't really been addressed. It's been kind of hyping up this the PEP and where it's going to be going. So listed, I put the MEPs, PEPs, which an open MEP is essentially a pooled employer plan, a PEP right now. So they have been in existence, except those rules are changing January 1, 2021. There are exchange plans that are set up. There are a lot of providers that will put that together. I know Transamerica has a lot of exchange plans that they put together with a third-party administrator, and they have a 338 tied to that, or with their platform, they're able to do that. It's more than likely going to be a change from those type of plans to a PEP. So you have these open MEPs, they're already gearing up to change over, and you may see something like that with an MEP. I'll go into the syndicate plans a little later on, how we're aggregating them as a group and how that works. And it's a little more flexible. We're able to do a lot of things that aren't typical or expected because of the automation. Automation is our nature. That's how we look at things. We would rather go through a process manually so we can see how we can automate it. If you could go to the next slide, please. So this overview is as summarized as I can make it. So the setup of an MEP is not a quick process. Anyone that's been involved in that, setting up an MEP requires multiple service providers, but you want to make sure that you are working with individuals and service providers that know what they're doing. It'll turn into a headache, and it's typically months for that setup to even get going. And then once it's going, there's a lot that is that goes into that afterward. So with an MEP, I'm looking at a closed MEP. There's the commonality trait for that. You can't really pull in for a PEO. They can't really have administrative services only or ASO clients that are coming into that. Associations and chambers of commerce. The association, for example, would have to have a determination of what they're using as kind of that commonality for those employers to join. There's the one document, and the way they bring in those employers is with a participation agreement or a joiner agreement, where they're set up there. I would suggest, if you're going that route, you're already kind of down that path, you're looking at that, to really look at the plan design. Sometimes it's just left open to figure it out as you go. I would suggest having some sort of plan design options to make it a little easier for those to pick of it. Those. It does become a little more expensive to operate because you have service providers that are in there. There is the economies of scale, but you also have to consider that, if you have a TPA that's involved, you have the financial advisor, and then you have the record keeper. There is a consolidation of those fees, but technology that's out there, there are some options for small businesses, especially for 401Go, where we're saying, hey, it's actually less expensive for you to go into this product. So there is a specific type of business or company size that fits on an MEP. If you could go to the next slide, please. So the PEPs are going to be, I think they're going to be the king of the hill as far as it goes with MEPs. There's more than likely going to be a transition, and there are a lot of industry professionals that are already setting up for that transition from even a closed MEP to a PEP. And the reason for that is you have the commonality requirement is not there. There are multiple other things that are tied to that as well, but it makes it an option that is more favorable for a lot of organizations. There's a flexibility there. You could have a financial advisor, the firm sponsor a PEP and have it work out there. I did put that a 3P or a pooled plan provider, which is required, I put that as a con for one reason. That more than likely it's going to be, record keepers, TPAs that are going to be a 3P, but you'll see others in the industry that are doing that. I do anticipate that with that additional qualification, there's going to be kind of an increase of cost for that group to do that because of what it puts on them as far as a fiduciary. There are complexities to this with the document. When you have one document in the agreements, it's important to understand that complexity can lead to other things with some of those employers that are participating. You have to realize that there could be something in a participation agreement that you've overlooked that down the road may create a problem. So the complexity behind it it requires, a third-party administrator, a record keeper, individuals that are really on top of that and are aware of those things to catch something like that. again, pick your partners in creating one, pick them wisely, because if it's not working well, in many ways, if you create a PEP with your organization, you're kind of locked in with that, and it would reflect you and your business. So be very, very careful on that when you're picking those service providers. Next slide, please. So the 401k syndicate, it's not an organization that, goes out there and tracks down everyone to make sure that they're or a secret organization, whatever you want to refer to it. We kind of coined this because we have a platform that is set with automation, where a lot of the processes that are manually done and they take a long time for other service providers and organizations, we've thought through those and we've automated it so it's possible to do that. So similar to a PEP, a 401k syndicate can be created by any organization. If you're a financial advisor and you wanted to put something like that together, your CPA, payroll provider, benefit broker, and so forth, there's a real value in doing that, where you have an option of offering a 401k benefit, but you're not sponsoring it. You're not taking on that fiduciary liability of doing that. The liability is still on those employers. And one thing to note with in MEP and PEP that I kind of glossed over is employers, they still have skin in the game when they are joining an MEP and a PEP. They need to be making sure that those service providers and that group that they're going through for that benefit, that they've reviewed that and they've gone through that and that they monitor them, because there is still some fiduciary liability on them in that case. So what we've done with the syndicate is the employer has that liability as a fiduciary. However, there is the 316 administrator that is tied to that. And if you had a financial advisor that was going to offer the syndicate, they could be the 338 or the 321, whichever they wanted to do. But essentially what that does is it allows those employers to know what they're supposed to do, instead of it being one of those things where you get a 401k plan, good luck, and reach out when you have a problem. The automation is what keeps them informed on what they're supposed to do. And in many cases with some of these small businesses that have no interaction with a 401k plan, it's an incubator for them, and their interactions with requirements that they have to take care of each time are taken care of with the automation. So we are kind of impatient in our society, and I think that if you don't want to wait for a PEP in 2021 and the months and everything else that goes into that, and smoothing out all the edges once it's established, with a syndicate, we can create one in hours and have it co-branded if you would like to do that. We can add in the 338 if you're a financial advisor and you want to set up the system there with your fund lineup, as well as our guided portfolio. So if you have certain models you want to throw into there, you can do that as well. The consistent and co-branded option with a syndicate makes it, a value for your clients, because they know where everything is going to be, as opposed to multiple places they would have to connect with. There is also a pairing that we do. So you could have an association or a chamber of commerce, PEO, where as a financial advisor, you are paired with them, and they are offering that, but you're the one that is working with them as far as with the investment, education, interaction, and everything else like that. So its purpose is to make it easy to group benefits, and leverage that automation that's there. But I think when you have an automated product, you can focus on the relationship side and connecting with those people in a different way when it's all, everything's clicking. So next slide. I think that's what I had.
Any questions? So how do you see the PEP moving along in 2021? Do you think it's more hype than anything else, or do you think that it's actually going to be something substantive?
I think that the Peps will I think they're going to be the king of the hill. I think there is a lot of hype, but there's going to be a transition. I don't think it's going to be a clean transition in most cases, but there's going to be a transition for a lot of maps that want to move over to it. I've had many clients that, they have an MEP and there's been issues with, administrative services only clients for a PEO where they can't join, and it just becomes kind of a mess. And that way they can remove that element by just, transitioning to a PEO, to a PEP.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. So like I said, June the 5th will be our next virtual conference. And just want to stop the share. And so sign up. The information is available for sign up on all the LinkedIn, all the social media outlets that I partake in. And I just want to see, because I have to remove my remote. Hold on one second. Our next presentation is Dan Harding from Wealth Prime. And how am I going to do this? I have to.
You'll figure it out.
Yeah, I'll figure it out eventually.
Let me see if I can share my screen. Hold on.
No. Hold on.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. Yeah, you can do it. Okay.
Is that okay? Sorry. All right. I did not mean to jump the gun, buddy.
Yeah, please do that. Because
Okay.
Because all of a sudden my give you the control went away. Okay.
Got it.
Okay.
I'm in control. Ari and everyone, nice to see you all today. I hope everyone's doing well. Sorry I wasn't able to join earlier. I've just been on back-to-backs. Happy Friday. My name's Dan Harding. I am out in sunny Northern California. So we're in Silicon Valley, located in Los Altos, California. My house is in San Carlos, which is right next to Stanford University. Today we're going to talk about Wealth Prime. Wealth Prime is a technology company that is backed by an administrative firm. So we are both a third-party administrator, so TPA, and we've built a technology to help advisors, planners, CPAs, help clients navigate what is a more relatively complex new tax law that changed in 2018 with the Jobs and Tax Law Act, and allow them to run a report which shows a great way to save on taxes, which I'll run with you today, and then also build assets under management or sell life insurance. So that's what I'm going to cover today, and I can go through it quickly, and so we can then see the power of kind of what we've done. So I took a year after off of kind of owning my other firm. So we've got an administrative company, and I just really dove into the new Tax and Jobs Act, where there's a big opportunity, especially around the 199A. So I built the tool that shows how quickly, how to take advantage of the new tax code. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to plug in 10 questions. So you can do this for a client, while you're sitting down with them, you can pre-populate it, but it's super easy. So let's just say Ari. Ari is the name of our prospect or client. Ari is 59. I know you're not 59, Ari, but
how's it going?
Yeah. Let's just say business owner. And are you all seeing my screen? Just want to make sure that sometimes I buzz a little too fast.
Yep.
Okay. Let's say entity type is an LLC. Ari is a lawyer, so we were going to put this as a yes in this example. Living in Georgia. Let's say making around $650,000 per year as business income. Wife doesn't work, but are filing married jointly. And there are employees at the law firm that are not family members. And I'll just plug in my email so I don't bombard Ari's. But now it's super simple. So it takes 10 questions, takes about a minute to populate. And now we are delivered to our doorstep a customizable wealth report. So let me stop. Everyone still seeing my screen? I know it sometimes pops over or it doesn't always work. Everyone seen the Wealth Prime report?
Yeah, I see it.
Okay, cool. So Ari, business owner, 650,000, California. Oh, I thought I put Georgia. 59 years old, married jointly. In this scenario, your consulting services and my actuarial work can save the client $154,000 per year, and that's net of my fees. This is an interesting concept. If you've got $0 in your retirement plan today, you can have over $1 million in only 3 years, and that's the estimated time to $1 million, which is trademarked, which a lot of my advisors, during conversations back when it was like normal, would say, hey, how do you happen to know what your estimated time to $1 million is? And clients would say, most of them would say no, because not all of them have seen the technology that we've built. And that's where they would sit them down and then show, okay, hey, your estimated time to $1 million is 5 years, it's 10 years, it's 12, it's 3. But it gives them a real clear way to have an understanding of having $1 million in retirement, which is a good start. And then assuming a rate of return of 5%, you can safely assume, and with a level contribution into the retirement plans, you could assume to have almost $7 million in the collection of plans over 15 years. Let me stop there. Is any questions? Is any thoughts so far? Nope. Okay. All good then. What my algorithm and the platform does is it runs a comparative analysis between doing no planning, so 0 retirement plan contributions on the left, and now we know what our state and federal taxes are going to land on, versus the Wealth Prime plan, where we're putting $318,000 and change into qualified plans. And that's broken into 3 categories. So we got 401k at $26,000. We got a profit sharing plan of $37,000 and a cash balance defined benefit plan at $255,000, which gives us $318,000 that we could drag and drop into the plan, which now reduces our AGI below the watermark to qualify. Basically, it's found tax savings of $58,000, which is the 199A deduction. Let me stop one sec. Does everyone have familiarity or an understanding of the qualified business income deduction? Okay, all good. So what this 20% deduction is? Oh, looks like I got a hand up. Hold on. Where did I saw that hand pop up? No. Okay. Thank you for responding. The 199A, thank you, Adrian, deduction came into play with the, okay, yes, basic understanding. Thanks, guys. Okay. Came into play with the 2018 Jobs and Tax Act changed. There were 4 major changes to the code. The first was C Corps received a linear reduction in federal taxation from 35 to 21%. Companies like Patagonia received a $14 million tax refund, and they massively benefited from the tax change as their C Corp. Non-C Corps don't get that same tax treatment. If they own a business, so S Corp, sole prop partnerships, and LLCs, if they own a business and they have qualified business income, and they get their income below the watermark, which is $415,000 if they're married and $207,500 if they're single, it allows them to pick up a possible 20. Then it's a scale up to a 20% deduction on their taxes, which is a massive tax harvesting. So, and the third thing is, the reason I wrote this algorithm is because I was angry that I was going to lose with the SALT tax. So this is the third thing. The state and local taxes are now capped at your mortgage deductibility, right? So it's 10,000 in California. So we live in California, we've got a lovely house, that 10,000 doesn't really move the needle as much for me. So I wanted to try to figure out a way to recapture some of my tax losses with different types of planning. So I built it greedily for myself, but it's now worked for hundreds of our clients. And what we'll do is we'll allow anyone that would like to try to demo the software. I would love to give you a free month of the software. And then if we're able to be your administrator as well, there's all kinds of other ways that we could work together. And so also assuming that we put in this $318,000 with a level contribution, so putting the same 318 away for 15 years, 5, 10, 15 years, we know what the approximate asset value is going to look like over time, just using a future value calculation. So this is our basic report, which we built. This is kind of what we went to market with first. It's clean, it's crisp, it shows people a real clear understanding of opportunities to build assets under management, to help clients put together the right types of planning. And now we have a larger kind of dashboard that we built. So this is the paid site of Wealth Prime, where we're able to do a lot more with the product. And Ari, how am I doing time-wise? How much time do I have allotted?
You got 20 minutes. 20 minutes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. 20 minutes in total, or 20 minutes from now?
20 minutes from now.
Perfect. So 11. Okay, I won't even need that long. We'll go to questions after that. So this is our advisor platform, where you can go sign up. And only log back in, sign up for the platform and do a lot to help your clients understand the value of retirement plan designs. You can go to the platform and pick, one of your groups that you hold assets with, run reports, which you can request assets. So you can request a report saying you've got, a 100-person 401k plan. We think the average assets, it's a $1 million plan, 100 people, average, here's the flow expected. And you can actually communicate and set up the platform to allow it to send directly to your rep. So it's a way to enhance the service offering. But this is really cool. You saw on my other design screen how easy it was to kind of upload a plan, but here's another quick way to run a report. So let's just go Derek Weiss, age 42, live in Alabama. You always have to fill in all parts of these to advance. It won't allow you to advance unless this is filled out. So just so you all know, business owner, fake phone number, it's actually mine, call me anytime. Not a doctor, lawyer. Let's just say making 500,000. Yes, there are employees that work for the company and we're filing married joint. Now the advisors can manipulate the data. So they can say, okay, I want to run a comparative analysis if I just do a 401k and profit sharing, or it's clear to me that the client has a 401k at another company. So we know we're going to put the contribution level down to 0 when we run this, because it's not, it's not going to calculate, double time. So, but for this example, I'm going to leave the numbers at the highest amount. And then you can also increase or decrease the rates of return on the assets for the 401k and the profit sharing. We don't allow you to mess with the rates of return on the cash balance plan, because that's a fixed number. We like to be between 2 and 5%, and that's based on the interest crediting rate of the plan document. Sorry, a lot of gobbledygook there. All right, now we're saving this lead. Now we've got Derek Wise here, and we're going to run this lead. And when you run a lead, so you can have it sent directly to yourself, you can have it sent directly to the CPA or any referring partner. You can set up different tiers of partnerships for here that allow you to then hopefully, and sorry, my internet's going a little slow. I've got my wife's on a Zoom and my 2 kids are on Zooms. Okay, so now we have a much larger report that is dynamic. And so this Derek Weiss, let's talk about your report. Let's talk about your findings. And so you as the advisor, whether you're a CPA, a TPA, financial advisor, a state attorney, you can all use the software to build assets for management or go get more planning fees or sell life insurance. It's a great vehicle to educate your clients or your partners and really try to help your clients reduce their taxes and build their wealth. But then you're also participating in that wealth build because you brought this solution to the table that they wouldn't know about. Sorry. So this is the large report. Talks about their path to millions. The estimated tax savings, $91,000 is nothing to spit at. 6 years on the ETM for this client, but we're picking up a really large $95,000 deduction just by, understanding the client's needs, funding a retirement plan and reduce the income level or the qualified business income to qualify for this tax harvesting, honestly. Also talked about the different types of retirement plans that are out there. So what are the disadvantages of having a Roth, a Roth IRA versus a 401k IRA? Your income is if you got an IRA, if you want a Roth IRA, you can't have your income above certain watermarks. 401ks, you can have your income, you can make $10 million and still contribute to a Roth 401k or do a Roth conversion. There's a lot happening right now with IRAs, as you all know. The Secure Act. Basically, and I'll send this to everyone. There's a provision in the Secure Act that talks about insolvency. And now IRAs, they used to have creditor protection up in California. It was 1.28 million. Now it's you have to be insolvent to receive creditor protection, and then it comes down to a judgment. So it's totally, and so we get in plans all day from estate planning attorneys right now who are and they're using a lot of my planning software. Where they're saying, holy crap, there's $4 trillion of IRAs out there that people don't know that they're now exposed because of the new Secure Act. And so it's a huge hot button. And so as you guys are kind of the top of your game with your advisory, strategies and technology, that's something that you should really be concentrating on explaining to your clients that if there's an opportunity to roll anything from an IRA into a 401k, start a business, have a sponsor 401k, it's going to really protect their assets. And with this whole coronavirus thing, that people are going to be suing people's businesses a lot more. So if we can get ahead of that by understanding the litigious nature of what's happening, then I think it'll just be helpful for everyone. And everyone knows that a SEP IRA compared to a 401k with profit sharing is significantly worse for the business owner because you have to give the same percentage allocation that the owner gets that the employees get, and there's no vesting schedule with those SEP assets. So if they leave, they take all their money versus a 401k profit sharing plan with a tiered allocation. Top tier, you got your owners, middle tier, what have you. You can actually put a 6-year graded vesting schedule on those assets. So it becomes a greater way. You get the same contributions, or the owner gets the same amount to deduct, but it's just a much better tool for the business owner. So we talk about that. We run through, we put the max amount of contribution in here, so we didn't reduce it all, but you and your software, and when you're talking to clients, you can run this 100 times, reduce the numbers, make them happy with kind of where they want their plans. This spells out what the real tax fix is and how it works. We talk about the 199A deduction, right? How we got there, who qualifies, who doesn't. So remember, if you're single, if you make over 415 if you're married, and you make over 207 if you're single, you don't qualify. You also don't qualify if you're a C Corp. So, but there's a lot of clients out there that are making $600,000-$700,000 that maybe we work together with and put together these advanced plans for them. And there's other tax planning that work as well, but this is a real basic one that everyone, I think, should be kind of the first box that they check. Hold on one second, I got a question. Oh, just a W from Jim Graham. So that's what, you know, it's a great opportunity. I work, question, sorry. Employee costs. Yes. So I think you're going to ask, what about employee costs, Jim? This doesn't calculate currently what the employee cost is going to be because we don't have the full census. We're rolling out with a new version of the software in June, July, where the advisor can upload, or you guys can upload the entire census, click a link, then you'll receive a census to then populate, upload it straight to the site, and then it'll run all of the iterations of the plan design. So it'll say, okay, here's what a simple is for you and your employees, and here's the cost. Here's what a 401k is. Here's a 401k with profit sharing versus what a SEP IRA is versus a combination plan design. Oh yes, cross-testing DBDC, yes. So I built the software, it has all of my actuarial brain in this software. So we pass all of our compliance tests and all of our coverage tests, all of 410. So you're welcome. Thank you for the question, Jim, appreciate it. But that allows you to then upload it and have a complete, and so then you're not waiting a week or 2 weeks for an actuary to get back to you with, you know, the one design that he or she thinks is appropriate. You can then look at the SEP IRA, compare the SEP IRA to the 401k profit sharing cash balance, and like, what's that net effect to the client, right? So that's kind of, I've got continued to build out this platform because I really want, I'm going to have CPAs, TPAs, advisors, everyone use it, just because I think it's really going to help streamline ways for you to build AUM, great way to help your clients, so on and so forth. I was going to get to this last page. Give me one so I can take a sip. But Jim, thank you for your questions. That's a really good question. Okay, now this last page is an interesting one because I work with a lot of venture capital private equity companies. I'm in the heart out here in Silicon Valley. And, you know, I've lived here my whole life outside of college. So I've got over 150 VC clients. And this is a path. This talks about why it makes sense to own a company, right? The tax advantage of starting a company. Where are the opportunities to accumulate wealth? You know, we're going to grow your assets with these cash balance defined benefit plans. Then we're going to, you know, after a certain amount of time, if we want to, we can shut down the cash balance plan and roll those assets into a 401k plan. If we want to, and I've got a lot of venture capitalists that do this, so they start, you know, they build up assets 1 to 3 million, shut the cash balance plan down, roll the assets into a 401k, do a Roth conversion of the assets to a portion of those assets that they choose, and now they've got $1 million in Roth after-tax assets, which they often use in investing in a private company stock or crypto technology. So we administer really advanced plans that are a lot more than just the paychecks out of the box 401k. This is we allow for, you know, really, really interesting things to be held. But the reason so you can then, you start with $1 million or $2 million over here, you move the assets, you convert partially the assets, and just you take income on that conversion. And then if you're able to invest into private company stock or something that's going to really spike, then you can have a tax-free exit of those assets. And I have a lot of venture clients that have had tremendous success with investing into early stage private company stock with Roth converted assets. And now those assets have taken off, and some of them are pretty substantial. So that is the report. It just kind of guides you through the opportunities. Now, what I'll show you, and do you have any questions, any more questions about the report? Sorry, or any questions at all? No worries if not, but ping anytime. So now we've run this Derek Wise report, right? It's cool. We have this dashboard. We know that the income's here, the estimate, you know, it's quick to know, you know, all your clients' estimated time to $1 million. It's solved right here for you. You can download those reports, send those reports to your client, to a CPA, to a referring partner. You can just do a lot, but here's what's cool. So I'm looking at least I thought it was cool. I'm talking with Mass Mutual and Voya and Emeritus right now on white labeling the technology for their companies, and it takes a ton of time to get through, as you know, it's compliance and such. But these are real conversations, and one of the questions I had from one of the people in charge of Mass Mutual is, well, can you build out a comp grid for our advisors so they can have an understanding, and for their management team to have an understanding of what this opportunity can look like with regards to a comp basis. So I'm like, I live in Silicon Valley, I can build anything I want. So we now know that on 401k profit sharing assets, the defined contribution, the average, advisor charges, let's call it 50 bips. Cash balance assets, our average cost that I see is around 1 to 2%. So you're quickly understanding what the compensation could look like for the plan. And then that gives the managers the ability to then go in and provide support when necessary. But the insurance is also an asset class that can be held inside the plan. And our calculator knows that the cash balance assets are going to, for this, Derek Wise, be 97,000. And we can either put 25 or 50% of the asset class into life insurance. And I know that the insurance comp is going to be pretty substantial on those type of plans. I don't sell a lot of annuities, but we do have the annuity calculator for those 412 plans. I'm one of 3 actuaries or administrators in the United States that is approved with Mass Mutual to do 412s and other type of high-level insurance planning inside of our designs. And then I'm almost done here, but we've really built out our video library. If you Google, cash balance plans or, videos understanding, there's just, it's a bunch of crap out there. I'm sorry, it is. You got like stick figures, drawing, this is a cash balance plan. This is a defined benefit. Like it's pretty lame. So I spent a lot of time and a lot of money on really building out our video platforms to show all the strategies and to walk your clients through the different strategies out there that we would recommend, and so we can teach you as the advisors how to sell more plans. And so that's kind of that's pretty much it. That's what we've built. We're proud of. We think we're going to help. We have helped a lot of people really reduce taxes by advanced plan designs, and sometimes it makes itself for life insurance, sometimes it doesn't, but it becomes a tool, a resource to for our planning partners to help them build AUM and sell insurance and help their clients a lot.
No, I when you first showed it to me months ago, I just was flabbergasted with what I saw, because I used to go on so many sales meetings when I was working for TPA. And until you got the actuary come back with, the analysis of the new comp, probably a week. And this is to me like the idea of Polaroid, when you had or to me more importantly, the digital image today, back in the old days, I think I told you that story about, my cousin got married and my father was taking pictures, and he went to the local developing place, and within 20 some odd minutes there were pictures. I'm like, wow. Yeah. Now, technology today with digital photography, you have the picture right there. And to me, this is almost the same thing where, you have the analysis and you can just sell the client and, push it through right in front of them.
Well, thank you, Ari. I totally, and I agree with you. I appreciate you, and I agree with you. I think that, we can all help scale our businesses with technology, and that's all we've done here. We just try to make it look cool and easy to understand, and it just takes great partners like you and the great individuals on this call to really help a lot of clients. So I'm stoked that I was able to participate today. I'm sorry to jump on late, but I'm really happy that we've got this partnership, Ari, and that you trust me enough to be able to present to your great people.
Okay, appreciate it. And I guess that's it for this version of that 401k virtual conference. We'll do this again in June the 5th. So thank you so much for everybody participating, and hope you enjoyed it. And again, reach out to me by email if you want the slides and so on.
Perfect. And I've got my phone number and email down on the right-hand side. So please, that's my cell. Anyone who needs to get on me, give me a call, text, and then we'll get going.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Have a great day, everyone.
Thanks, Ari.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ari.